Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the NLC. We are in the middle of our Aurora Cup action here in 2023. It's the quarterfinals matchup between reigning NLC champs Nativz and play-in upstarts Jlingz. I'm Initialize. That there is Aragon. And before we go anywhere, I think we need to clear the air, mate, because the tweet announcing this between the two of us said it was going to be a 1v1 between us. It was a versus matchup. Anyone who's not seen this, go to the NLC official Twitter account. You'll see that they've set us against each other. We're now mortal enemies. Yeah. And I realize I'm never going to win a 1v1 in League. It's just not going to happen. You're too good at Renekton. It's going to be a disaster. And I decided maybe we'll do this in real life. And I've gone into the wardrobe, pulled out some Initialized lore, and I found my karate black belt and the official proof that I hit first stand. So I'm going to find you at your keyboard, mate. And we're going to have a proper 1v1. How's that looking?
Yeah, I think I'd get clapped. I only hit brown belt, unfortunately.
That's still pretty good,
when I
actually,
in fairness. And it was a while ago. I probably lost all my flexibility, you know, but it's all good. I concede. I forfeit.
I won't tell you it's been about 10 years. It's fine. I'll take the forfeit and we'll move on from there. Let's have a look at the bracket as it stands, shall we? Because we've had a lot of action that's already come in thus far. Last week, we saw the other side of the bracket, Fourth Wall coming out top K5. I know you cast that one, whereas I saw Lazy come out ahead of DMG, and they'll be facing out on November 1st. So next week to see how that semi-finals go. We, however, are covering currently the other side of the bracket, where there is some serious heavyweights, and then poor old Jlingz who've been drawn on the side of a lot of big NLC names.
I definitely do think one of these brackets is not the same as the other. Verdant Ruddy Nativz. Massive names coming into playoffs last, but you had Nativz coming off the EMU Masters, but of course it's not quite the same rosters, is it?
It's not. And again, this is, of course, your World Cup. It's Pro-Am. Some of those data points are going to be just out of date because of big roster shifts, off-season, people trying out new players moving around with contract stuff at this time of year. And Jlingz, you look at some of the names on that, you go realize like Dempy's the coach and stuff, who was definitely throwing some shade at you, Aragon, on Twitter for voting against him. How could you? So it does make this matchup in particular pretty interesting. And of course, whoever wins is still going up against potentially a very hard opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking at these rosters, Nativz and Jlingz. Nativ's top side is so stacked. You look at the names, Lundorf really pop out to me in particular, as well as Chrisberg, who's been a veteran in his own right. Veterancy is what I'm looking at when it comes to this mode, Fearless mode. All your champions get pinched, your potential one-tricks run out of champions, and you go deeper and deeper into a series. What do? Right? Especially if you're, for example, someone like St. Samson, who potentially has a smaller champion pool.
That's certainly going to be something to keep our eyes on. It's partly why I think we're both in a similar mindset when it comes to the predictions, which, if you don't mind, dearest Phil, who was producing today, and shout out to him, that both of us have gone for a Nativz victory here. There's a little bit of disruption in the casters, but a few people I feel have gone for the upsets more than anything else. Both me and you have gone for it should be a fairly clean Nativz win. I put the additional game towards Jlingz because it's Fearless. I expect one game to get weird. It's just inevitable. But I think we're both pretty happily on that Nativz side of the board for now.
Yeah, I think giving over one game is definitely a safe move, especially with the strength of blue side. That one Jlingz will get a game on blue side, maybe take away a pocket pick or a really strong meta pick that allows them to clutch a victory.
It does feel that way, and especially considering how potent I think blue side has been, say, at the World Championship. And I guess, yes, that data is a little bit muddied by the fact I think a lot of the better teams have just been on blue sides. It was like, oh no, Gen G have won a lot of games.
What was the win rate there?
The blue side win rate's gone. I think it's like 77%.
Nutty.
It's very high. And don't get me wrong, I think a lot of that is, as I've said, the better teams being on blue side for a lot of those games as well. That's definitely skewing the numbers. But as it stands, actually with that in mind, it is Nativz on blue side first. They're the ones who've gotten that draw. So feeling potentially quite pleased there. Of course, we've got to see how it works out. And that's blue side standard draft. This is blue side Fearless, and Fearless is something that I think you were saying, look, definitely favors veterans, or at least players with the willingness to go deeper into champion pools who've got a few more options to their name. And that may well definitely affect side priority, because actually it's one of those things where sometimes red side becomes more potent because you've just got weirder champions to work with.
Yeah. And I think that's where some of the difficulty when it comes into drafting happens. When you're down in the weird and wonderful champions and knowing exactly what they do and what they're used for, and still creating cohesive drafts with an identity that you've practiced. That's definitely the hard part, and that's where coaches come in. You know, how good is your coaching staff? Dem, looking at you, how good are you creating cohesive comps and telling your team how exactly to play it?
And that is sometimes easier said than done, actually, as well.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those ones where I talked a little bit like last week as well, where you can end up in this situation having covered a lot of like the LDL, so the Chinese Academy League, where it's all fearless all the time there. And you start to see a few patterns emerge in terms of if you waste your power budget on a game one, I've gotten all the crazy power picks, and now I can't use them anymore, and we can't ban them away, and suddenly those are going over bits and pieces to our enemy team. Like, you can end up in some quite difficult positions, particularly if you lose with what should be quite a power pick draft.
I think we saw something like that last week, actually. Now that you're mentioning it, it's occurred to me. Last week, game one, I believe it was one of the teams had a pocket pick Belveth, and they first picked it, but then they nearly lost, and it's like, you're using your power budget on this amazing first pick, that's your main champion, and you're not carrying with it. You won't have that again.
Scary.
That can't be how well it performs, right? So I want to see how, for example, St. Samson uses a Sejuani. I keep bringing him up because I think it's incredibly hyped that he's a Sejuani main as a top laner.
And you were indeed right. It was Cast, of course, another one of those kind of new upcoming players who joined
Cast, that was
into
it,
the
yeah.
NLC, who pulled out that Belveth and went 10-3 on it. Took a little while to get going, but once they were going, it was very, very scary. And there you see at the top of your screen, Fearless Draft in bright, bold colours. Nativz over on the blue side, they've straight away panned away that Sejuani you were calling for. They know it as well.
Yeah, no wacky and wonderful Sejuani Master Yi combo that we saw a little while back. I thought that was fantastic.
Please stop. That's just miserable. I don't want to think about that permafrost stacking. That's just not okay.
Yeah, absolutely with that double hit, but mainly now I imagine target manning coming in from blue side as well as meta bans coming in. Stuff that's been left open to me that's very obvious are the Xayah, the Maokai, and the Rakan, and potentially the Alistar too.
I think we have seen a lot of priority on those big zone control junglers and supports. Rakan with his ability to just be so slippery, back up, engage, still quite a strong laner compared to how he used to be. You kind of go through the list, you realize a lot of the best players in the world are just Rakan mains. Look at Delight. That guy is so good at the champion, don't give it away. Instead, looks like Nativz have decided Jarvan, another one of those champions that's incredibly strong with the Spear of Shojin right now, is off the table. A little bit more of those focus bans to Nocturne away from Julbu. You're also looking at that Yone, which, yes, is a flex, but again, is a little bit more of that kind of pocket pick denial. And of course, Rumble is just a strong champion right now.
Wouldn't be surprised to see the Xayah take away, or the Orianna too. Of course, how could we forget this champion is just the best mid laner on the patch at the moment, especially at Worlds. And over time, you've seen metas evolve. At Worlds, you've seen Akali come out as a counterpick to the control mages and just played with dive compositions. I see a lot of dive being banned away at the moment, so Kai'Sa falls down in priority, but still Xayah is up, right? So I wouldn't be surprised to see that taken away too. The Yone ban, though, is specifically targeting the Maokai Yone combo that Nativz loves to pull out. So, definitely curious as to what there it is. There's the Rel Flex, could probably hold it down to R5, unless they want to take away the Rakan too. That's something we see at Worlds as well.
Yeah, definitely quite a potent pick, and he does feel like quite risky giving that one over, because Rel is a flex pick. It's also right up there as one of those very high prior options. You do feel like potentially a Xayah here would make some sense, because otherwise it looks like that's a pretty easy lock-in of a Xayah and a Rakan for the likes of Chrisberg and Chromax. And Chrisberg, no stranger to the Xayah, that's for sure. Of course, Rusty Sniper will not go back to the days of him locking in a Draven and causing some pain for Nativz fans out there, which he was doing towards the end of last split. Instead, looks like it'll be the Alistar lock-in, just as a potential counter to that Rel should it go down towards that bot side, even if it is a bit more of a playable matchup these days. And they'll lock in the Xayah. Sorry, the Kai'Sa as well.
Yeah, absolute classic. We're seeing the Xayah Kai'Sa. I feel like we've seen these drafts 7,000 times, and probably anyone who watches
Season
this...
8, like, it disappeared from it, it's right back again.
But it's nothing too new, right? Syndra into Orianna is a really good matchup, and it's a matchup that's being taken at Worlds really often. Something else he could go for is the Azir. Azir is really popular at Worlds. Azir and Orianna probably the best two mid laners at the moment, but again, Syndra's an incredible matchup too. Now, what do you ban? I think both comps are relatively flexible. You could go down the route of dive for the side of Nativz, right? So what jungler do you want to pair off with that? Well, a lot of the dive junglers are already banned. You have all those ball delivery systems in the Jarvan band as well as the Nocturne. So what appears as you go down that list? That's definitely what we're looking at. I think Maokai is definitely a champion they've got to consider here, especially with that Xayah for the peel.
Oh, completely. So I think Maokai is just one of those junglers just being perennially incredibly strong. They are currently going to go towards the Ivern, which is a strong champion, but I think we've both normally seen that with like double attack speed carries. I know that's normally double AD carry, but I feel like Azir works quite nicely there as well, but still off the table. And again, if you don't know how to play against an Ivern, ban it away. We've seen that a lot. On the other side, looking to pinch some of Lundorf's more
Yep.
interest. Oh, sorry, looking not Lundorf, of course, he's on native side, but looking to pinch away some of those more interesting champions, like the Olaf. We've seen occasionally come out to some of those tanky matchups topside, and occasionally in the jungle as well, because this is ERL level, and people like those weird picks down here. So far, so good.
The Ivan ban indicates that they want to pick a tank, probably that Maokai. I wouldn't be surprised if Nativz ban it. And what Nativz are looking for is the Cassante, because Olaf counters the Cassante pretty well. That's something that Samson has shown in the recent games. Now, what do they choose to ban the Maokai? When it comes to jungle here, you're getting pinched quite heavily, and something that works really well with dive that Nativz could pull out, depending on if Jolbu plays it, is the Vi. It's seeing a lot more play at the moment at Worlds, and it works really well with the Kaiser.
I'm so sad. It's back again. Vi and Wukong are in meta and top tier of the jungle again. I thought they were gone, but no, it's right back again.
Yeah, and I think it's really rough because they've got to... They could either index into poke here, but they don't really have that great poke at the moment. Or they could... What we're seeing a lot of at Worlds is trying to draft more and more dive to overcome the amount of peel that Xayah has. You overwhelm her, right? So she pops R, and then she comes down, and she's still getting engaged on. Yeah. And that's potential route that Nativz have to go down here, which is why I suggest the Vi. Now, what do you counterpick into the Renekton? This is a champion I thought would get banned a lot earlier because both of these players love the Renekton. Now, you could either go Cassante and Handshake, or maybe you pick out something Lundorf has, the Rumble, potentially. Oh, that's banned. I think it has to be the Cassante, yeah.
Yeah, it's a matchup we've seen a lot of. It's one of those ones which feels like Renekton tends to get a little bit of the shove early on, unless you get some good Q3s coming on through. And then as the game goes on, Cassante becomes Cassante and gets to be that quite tanky frontline that has those opportunities to really pick apart squishy members if they overstep. Debating now a jungle option. All of those slightly more interesting junglers banned away in the Lee Sin and the Ivan, which do have unusual play patterns somewhat. Instead, it'll be the Xin Zhao locked in. That's a very aggressive, slightly unusual jungler in the current meta. What Jlingz want to lock in themselves. Debating a Bel'Veth, but it is just a hover for now.
Yeah, I mean, they have an incredibly strong top side, which would mesh well with that Bel'Veth, so I definitely do see it as a play. You have Renekton to secure that Rift Herald to give her an empowered form. The Xin Zhao coming out is quite surprising. I thought they'd pick something like the Vi for more dive, but they want the generalist, you know, I could play as a frontline disruptor in teamfights, but I also have a strong early game, and I don't have to purely dive. That's what they're going for. Nativ's draft, it makes a lot of sense, but they're very adaptable, whereas Jlingz definitely want to play around that early game skirmishing on that Rift Herald.
So Trundle locked in here, which can make people like Cassante feel very sad. You reduce his resist, and then he goes all out and realizes he has negative resists and has a very horrible time. Obviously quite useful into things like the Alistair as well. So definitely interesting use of that R5 pick there. Make sure that the rel goes down to support for sure and lock in something a little bit spicy in the jungle.
Yeah, I really like this Trundle pick. I think it provides a lot of disengage, but also incredible value in the early game, in the 1v1, as well as just versus all these tanks. Of course, you know, if you pick Trundle into tanks, you just ult that Alistair, like you were mentioning. I really like that initialize. I definitely do have to edge out that I think Jlingz outdrafted here. I think they have incredible early game. They have really good team fighting versus the potential dive of the Kaiser. And the Xayah power pick, we've seen just how strong it is. So I do expect Jlingz to get better of the early game purely off of draft alone.
I think I agree. I think that Trundle actually makes some of those matchups quite tricky. Like Orianna hates the pillar. Xin Zhao goes in, realizes the pillar behind them, has a horrible time, doesn't really enjoy having his attack speed stolen. You know, I can see how that gets quite tricky. Of course, at least you've got a couple ball carriers in the Alistair and the Xin Zhao now. Yeah. And of course, Cassante and Kai'Sa even can double up as what if needs must. But I think I agree with you. I think Jlingz have come up with a draft where I go, that feels like they should be able to get a few toeholds in that early game and transition that one out.
Yeah, I can't help but feel like the jungler for Nativz, Jolbu, got a little bit pinched there. They banned out the only 4 champions that he's played previously in the Aurora tournament, and going down to Xin Zhao is when people usually say, I don't really know what to play, right? I have this kind of teamfight early game champion that's fine, but generally Xin Zhao doesn't do that hot whenever I watch it or I cast it, so I don't have a lot of faith in
you just have a Xin Zhao curse, is that what it is?
I know. So
I'm a little biased somewhere. I hate Xin Zhao. He must fail every game.
Yeah, no, I think every single time it fails in the early game, gets nothing done, then people try to justify it by saying, you know, it can make space in a team fight, but the ult expires and it just gets popped. And that's every single time. So looking forward to see what he does. Maybe he can pull something off I haven't seen before.
Like, he's going to have to make it. Like, don't get me wrong. The draft makes sense. You've got some frontliner, you've got some engage, you've got ball carriers, and you've got Orianna Kai'Sa to blow people up. That's an understandable comp. I think it's just when we start to look at it, in a more holistic sense, up against the champions and the drafters up against, you're like, that could get quite tricky. And I don't know how realistically easy it's going to be to consistently punish the Xayah. I don't know how much fun some of these champions are going to have against Trundle. Like, we're raising these questions, guys, because there is a world where that really becomes a problem quite early on. And of course, you still might turn up in team fights and Orianna finds a shockwave that blows everyone up, and we're going to be looking a little bit silly. But those questions still have to be raised because they need to be answered.
Yeah, so initialize, my eyes are on the junglers, definitely in the early game. I want to track their pathing. I want to see like what level 1 wards you get, where they play for. Do they gank mid early on? Do they shadow mid and let them harass? Do they gank bot side with all that trading potential where they could potentially pop flashes? Because you do have that rel in the Alistar. Maybe there's a lot of skirmishing, some get popped, and a gank becomes open in that bot side. It's definitely a game about the junglers in the early game and how well they can transition those ganks.
You heard it there, folks. Eyes on the jungle, eyes on that Trundle and that Jlingz, and where they can find some ingress into the lanes. I completely agree with you. That mid lane looks pretty juicy to a mobile mages. That could be great for Jlingz and a Trundle to potentially turn up with the roams from the bot lane as well. It's not like Alistar and Rel are bad roamers as well, so that could get very interesting to track as the game goes on. Thus far, it's just a 5-man fan. I'm not seeing any early wards as yet, but we might see that in about 10 seconds or so.
Yeah. Both teams probably a little bit scared of each other's level 1s, especially, versus that Trundle. That is not a kind level 1 if you face check into him. So maybe not going for any deep vision. Now, you could see some pings coming down just to shadow those entrances from the Syndra, from Bendix, just shadowing them, making sure no ward gets placed down on those Rays. Does look like it's going to be a mismatch of the enemy junglers, so wherever they do end up meeting will be on opposite sides.
Will be interested to track, and of course it might be one of those ones where Trundle just does a 3 camp and then looks bot or mid lane. We have seen a little bit of that.
Look at those pings
more consistently, and there are some pings coming on through. So I wonder if that's just Jolblue looking to go straight in early onto those Raptors.
Yeah, potentially. I think the Trundle definitely could look for those Raptors with the invade. They've got to trade though, right? So the bot lane of JL have to look to trade and get priority if he wants to pull this off, because like you said, they aren't bad at roaming. Now, lots of trades coming down. Some's popped. The ganks will be even easier now.
Flash for the double pulverize. That means Rusty Sniper without those key summoners absolutely looking juicy. And we just mentioned that Jlingz likely pathing towards this bot lane. Yeah. He's got a very easy target to be working with early on.
Exactly. This is what I wanted to see, right? Supports trading to make those ganks even easier. Now, really good engage from Chromax. Rusty Sniper's got to be incredibly careful, like you said, because Urban is not pathing down bot side. He was planning on invading those Raptors. You could tell by the pings. They were planning on getting priority, but because of that play, because of that trade, that plays out the window. Now he's just got a full clear to top side. Maybe he can find something in mid or top, though.
That's precisely what we need to look at. We'll keep our eyes on the jungle, but eyes, of course, back on the bot lane now, kind of subverting a little what we're looking for, because as we've said, the jungles will be looking to find places where they can find those easy ganks, those options to get some of those advantages early on. And there was something that Freak was saying in the recent patch rundowns that actually at the minute, pretty much all higher elo junglers, all pro level players are putting all of their gold scalings, the champions that are getting gold in that mid and late game, it's all AD carries. They are the ones that get those resources. And I think someone like Rusty Sniper, who when we were in the green room, we were saying, look, this is potentially the guy on Jlingz to be the flagship carry for this team. Him being down 2 summoners before level 3, before 3 minutes, not a great omen.
Yeah, absolutely. And he had games versus Nativz on his Draven rather.
Yes.
And they managed to pick up a win versus arguably a much stronger Nativz roster who went to AMA Masters. So eyes on him, looking for to see if he can carry. Now take a look at bot side. Xin Zhao's looking to invade. They've spotted out the fact that Urban has actually pathed the top side, but they cleared all the vision. Really nice ward though from the side of jail. You could see a ward there that spots out any potential dive on any kind of slow push. So probably a play won't, unless this Hex Flash works, but it doesn't look like Chromax is going to do anything.
He's definitely taking it. I mean, Jolboo's going to be around, but a headbutt over the wall puts Crow in an interesting position, and the cow looks like they're going to take a little bit of poke damage, but nothing too much more. And Alistar gets to back away. PJ's still on him. He can not be going into the sweet, sweet release of death quite yet.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly hard to die. Plus, they sniffed out the fact that he was pathing down bot side, and they placed a ward down, and they had no slow push to work. Nativz had no slow push to work. Maybe if they'd stacked 3 or 4 waves, they could have potentially dived the summonerless Rusty Sniper, but a play might be coming out.
Oh, Chrisberg, desperately low flashing on the other side. There's already Ignite down, and Auto might do it. The healing pot's enough. Gets away with it. That got desperately close as Crow returns the favor that Chromax started early on in this level. Now both AD carries are looking a little shy of summoners.
Yeah, really big trades. Take a look, though. Urban's on his way down. He's making a beeline straight there, ignoring his camps. They're looking for a dive on the slow push.
This could get very interesting indeed. Jolbu is here, but
Jolbu.
so, as you said, is Urban, and this could make this a very tense moment indeed. Urban is here, likely to spot out the Jlingz out in this bush. We'll now know what's going on, and I think for now, tensions will remain just that and nothing more.
Yeah, doesn't look like anything's going to happen. That slow push was really scary, but really good shadowing from Jolbu to prevent any kind of play happening there. One engage there could have spelled absolute disaster for either team. Now, going to go back to farming. Urban's probably going to full clear back to top side. Whilst potentially, I actually think the other side, Nativz probably going to do the exact same thing. Just full clear up to top side. Maybe we'll see some action around mid then.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right call for now. The bot lane kind of petered out for a moment. It's been tense, but I think with both junglers out at the same time, it would have been a risky moment to look for anything more than that. And mid lane, perhaps the next look. So Urban has decided that, never mind the mid lane, we're going to use this opportunity while we've got the shove in bot lane to claim a nice early dragon, and that's certainly something that Trundle can do.
Absolutely. They've got Pryo in the bot side, no summoners on the side of Nativz except for that ghost, so not feeling comfortable entering the river, but take a look. Pings are coming down for the side of Jolbu on the top side. He's looking to cross-map this dragon, potentially steal away those wraiths, get an XP lead, and maybe he can get strong enough to potentially hit level 6 early on and contest this Rift Herald a lot more comfortably.
Exactly that. You do want to do level 6 around that 8-minute mark when the Herald comes on through. It gets very ugly when you've got things like a Trundle or a Xin who really want those big ticket ultimates available. Level 5 off those Raptors, so certainly that XP lead you were talking about becoming something of a reality, though of course the moment Urban claims that dragon, he actually ends up with some XP himself, and it's back to level 5 to sort of match for now.
Yeah. Take a look at Samson. If they know he's cross-mapping these topside camps, he could potentially go and stop. He one-shots Jolbu at this stage of the game with that whip completed, but doesn't look like he knows. Yeah, absolutely. There is a ward in that tri-bush, so if he walks over that tri, I could see Rel making a beeline. You can see Crow is actually making a roam right here. Things could get dicey here for Samson.
Yeah, it's a little bit ironic considering the moves they have. It'll be a slice for now. Rilla coming up as well, so it will be a 3v1 momentarily, but there is that slice, and it means there's no dice for Nativz to find a hold of that Renekton. It's just a little bit of wasted time. A look in at the top side, but the ward and the tri-brush did its job and kept the Renekton abreast of what was going on in the top lane.
Yeah, a little bit scared for Rusty Sniper here. They have a big slow stack. There's potential for a dive here, but Rusty Sniper does have flash.
Urban's here as well, and that actually might put Chromax in a dangerous position. Takes a chunk of his health bar, retreating from the tower, but ward in the tri-brush there did spot out that the Trundle was on his way down, so they back away from what could have been a very over-eager dive.
And so many potential plays shadowed by the junglers. Both of these junglers absolutely at the right place at the right time. Now, what I'm looking at, though, is what the supports do. Will they secure level 6 and then move to mid lane? Because both of these AD carries could be left on an island here, whilst that Rift Herald is respawning. You could see the junglers are now taking resets. Jolbu is taking a reset. He's actually heading straight to bot side. He might full clear from bot into top and actually secure that Herald, or look for a gank. There's a ping coming on that wave, so potentially a play on that wave when it's there.
So Chromax about 20% of the way towards the level 6, so not quite going to be there in any recent time frame, I think, especially now that the Herald sports. It won't be a fast level 6 or using those mid lane waves, for example, to try and speed that up, as we've kind of seen some of the LCK and LPL teams do over the last couple years. And just going to be pulling away for now. And Crow catching up a little on the XP they lost from making that brief roam towards the top side of the map.
Lots of questions there, right? JL clearly didn't know who was actually shifting upwards. They didn't know if Kai'Sa was going to join, because Kai'Sa's actually fogging in the fogging right now. He was staying in the tri-bush, and in the end, it was only the Alistar moving up. Now, Rel is late, right? This might just go over. Rel can't get there in time, but the pings are coming down, so a little bit of indecisiveness coming out. Do you want to dive bot side to punish the roam? But the fogging from Nativz is exactly what wins this now. Rel, not quite there yet. Going to be there very soon.
You're saying information warfare, pretty scary, but they actually had to pull off the Herald, and now Chromax has to flash away. They were there first, they had to shove first, but for all the information advantage they had, for all that fogging you were talking about, they are still forced out of the river by a nice little brute force by JL.
Yeah, I think they're just so scared of these ultimates. You have pushing top as well as the power of that, Trundle ults whoever engages. If a Xin Zhao goes in, he just dies. That Rel ultimate's so powerful, as well as the Syndra, of course. And Renekton, infamous for being the champion you take to secure that dragon. Now, take a look at topside. 2 plates down already into proxying. Lundorf is having a really hard time.
Yeah, and Samson, this guy, you're saying, like, look, maybe more of a Sejuani player sometimes. He has those kind of pocket picks. Actually has pulled out the lane bully, has pulled out the preeminent lane bully as it stands right now. and pulls out that kind of damages in the mid lane. Only on the wrong end of a pillar, but doesn't have to flash. Just some of his health bar that's been the price of that look into mid lane. But you are right, it was a very even game until that sequence there around the Herald, and now JL comfortably up over 1,000 gold, have got themselves a Herald and inventory to boot as well, and they've got a few options about where they can look to put pressure on the map next.
Absolutely. I'd love to see them spread this topside lead with that Rift Herald into bot side, get Rusty Sniper ahead, because you've already hyped up how good he is. Just how good he is at carrying games when he does have a lead. He is a Draven min after all. You could also put it mid lane. In mid lane, it's really important to take mid lane tower with Rift Herald, because control mages like Orianna and Syndra, they absolutely hate it when they don't have mid lane tower, right? They have to go in side lane to farm and overextend. They have to extend mid lane and get ganked because they're so immobile. And that's why it's so important that really actually survived that gank right there and kept his flash, because he's still a champion when he maintains that. So, such a Mexican standoff going on right here. Nativz and JL, their bot lane, they're just staring at each other. Lundorf.
Jungler's on the opposite sides of the map for once, puts us in an interesting position. It's a great pillar, and Lundorf is left out to dry. The Mika cold, and Cassante is dead in the dirt.
Yeah, and he's just so squishy, isn't it? That all comes down. And maybe
yes, he is.
Such a good pick, that Trundle pick into the Cassante. Finding a gank, managing to find and pick off Lundorf, punishing his overextension. I think something that could have helped here is if he had built Thornmail first time. This is something you see the Eastern top laners do into the Renekton, and into Trundle as well would be really, really good. Still, look at that topside play. As a result of that play, it's going to be another Demolish proc and another set of plates for the Renekton. He is huge. Samson is really impressing me.
He has played this matchup so well. It's not even steel caps, right? It was just components for an Iceborne Gauntlet, so it meant there were no resist, there was no armor. And that Q just did unspeakable amounts of damage, and now this top laner for JL coming out looking like his namesake. That hair is not being cut. He's got a Gore Drinker, he's got a CS lead, he's got a plate lead. This Renekton is ready to tango, and with the early dragon taken by the side of Urban, he's just ready to make this fight around the dragon really come back to hurt them.
Yeah, he's already here. He's looking to make a play, secure the dragon and TP top. He's flashing.
Flashing on in. There's the dominance, but the command dissonance puts enough of a slowdown that they can't quite get anything more. Still, the Orianna will not be able to come and fight this. We'll teleport back towards the top lane. Yes, we'll have lost a wave or so, but that is a perfectly reasonable trade to get yourself a second dragon. Feeling okay about spreading that lead elsewhere into the map.
Yeah, honestly, really good macro coming in from Samson. He knew he could give up. You know, it's only 2 plates. And a Cassante, he's already ahead of the Cassante as Jolbu gets picked as well. Look at that pick potential.
It's so obnoxious. That pillar with everything else is just not fun. Now Chromax in danger, does go in and gets another double head, but Rusty Sniper trying to trade this one up best they can. The trample holds him in place, will not pull the ult quite yet. Now Crow trying to body block, does get us done. Into the Magnet Storm, pulls the feathers back, but a phenomenal flash for Flash leaves Rusty Sniper with an early kill and a double kill to make that 2. Great plays for the jail bot lane. Now into the jungle we go. It's not over quite yet. Ultimate's being popped absolutely everywhere you look. Urban trying to trade this one up, but gets knocked up, is in danger. Trying to heal back up, but has nothing left to work with. Flash is not far enough away. Now Jolbu can maybe look for something more, but Samson coming on over, but so is Cassante. They're going to try and get something more. Remember Jolbu, no ult, no flash. Trying to get something. The wind becomes lightning. Bendix flash if he's still in the back of the blue pit. And surely he dies as well. What on earth just happened?
So much action happening on the bot side and the top side, all the way across the map. You have an insane play down bot side with Rusty Sniper, holding his flash until the very last second, not using it until he could definitely secure that ultimate flash. Beautiful Featherstorm into killing the bot side. Then you have a crazy play in the top side where JL, with the Renekton who's late, actually doesn't come out on top. You have Nativz pulling ahead on the top side fight, so 50-50 trade right there. Bot lane winning for JL and top side winning for Nativz.
At the very least, Samson gets another kill. That does help at least alleviate some of that pain, but honestly, I was expecting more there out of the Trundle and the Syndra with the flash being down on Jolbu, but the ult works time, really lands a good shockwave, and suddenly the health bar of that Trundle didn't look all so good.
Yeah, I think Urban arrived just a little bit too late. Sorry, a little bit too early and got popped before Samson could even join. So it didn't matter that Samson was fed, but now he is huge, right? Let's not be around the bush. He is absolutely massive. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he
does it get an Aragon seal of approval for an Renekton play? I know you've got very high standards on that front. There you go. Take a clip.
No, it absolutely does.
Send it to Samson. There you go. He gets the gold star.
No, this guy's a Renekton player. He's really, really damn good. I really like the early shift downwards to secure that dragon, and Looking forward to that dragon in the future, though. Definitely want him there again. Both of these top laners should stop going topside eventually. I think now is the time for team fights. Secure those dragons in a couple minutes' time.
It's a reminder of that old meme, like, laning phase, jungle phase is over. It is now the time for team fights.
Yeah, exactly.
The blue buff we go, but on the opposite side of the map, Chrisberg. Oh, no, not like this. Absolute disaster. That face check leads to them being taken out very swiftly indeed.
Yeah. Once those items came through, Bendix using that Cloud Rift move speed to dodge out on that Orianna Shockwave. Really beautiful stuff. But yeah, again, Chrisberg having his way had with the Rusty Sniper. I'm pretty sure that's not the phrase, but Rusty Sniper playing exceedingly well. We've hyped him up in Champion Select, and he's just pulling it out. You know, he's so damn good.
And Chrisberg is a player who's been around for a little while. This is a guy who was on some of the G2 Academy teams. He was on some of the Misfits Academy teams. He is, he's 24. Like, he's been around the scene for a little while now, and there's been points where we've really hyped this player, but this isn't a great look right now, and he's being kind of taken to task right now by Rusty Sniper, who's feeling very, very happy, despite having lost, those summoners at level 2. Now we're back onto a Herald's. Try to steal over the wall, does Crow with a Shattering Strike, but can't quite make it happen, and Jilbu will walk away with the prize. Yeah,
I think Crow was trying to steal it there, be a little cheeky and steal away the Herald, because that Q does a bunch of bonus damage to monsters, so I don't think it was a terrible idea. Unfortunate, and the Trundle was a little bit late to the party.
I think it might also have been a little bit bold with no flash from Urban to go in there 1v3. I can understand why he's like, maybe I just sit over here and pray.
Yeah, absolutely. God, that is rough. Chrisberg, pop the ghost. Both of them are pop the ghost now.
They're looking at this.
Orianna's roaming down. There's a Featherstorm's available.
There's a Featherstorm now. The teleports begin to come on through. The roots come on through. Remember, Rilla, no flash quite yet. In goes Chrisberg. That's the ultimate down. Remember, there's a teleport. They have no idea. Unless Samson, I think, has had his interrupted. Lundorf did his job. Flash to interrupt the teleport. That's what happened. And
but at what cost?
There was no giant crocodile coming on through. But exactly, at what cost? It's a demolished Brock and a dead turret.
Brutal. Yes, good job, Lundorf, but it's really putting out fires, isn't it? And now he's going to leave the turret up to kill the cannon, so Lundorf misses it. Oh, absolutely brutal. Really, really good play from Samsung. And he can crash this, secure a crash, and walk out, potentially securing some vision along the way, too.
Oh, I think Nativz need to start asking where the hell is Delilah, because this Samson is looking like an absolute monster, and his strength is looking pretty unparalleled on the top side of this map. 40 CS, a couple kills, a turret to their name, and Lundorf really struggling to find an impact. Yes, stop the teleport, but all it really did, as you said, is move the fire, not put it out. Now we're on to Soul Point. If JL can claim it, Nativz forced out of the river for now.
So I'm looking at for this Nativz, this fight, I'm looking at that flank ward by Blue Buff. Do you see it over there? I wish we could highlight it, but you can see it over there, and potentially a flank. Although it looks like they might just cross-map and decide, you know what, we're too weak, guys. It's only a Cloud Soul Point, rather. Let's just cross-map up top side, get the objective bounty.
I mean, you look at it as well, it's 2 items for Nectans, 2 items for the Xayah. Yeah. You're not going to have fun in a 5v5 right now. Yes, you get some Raptors, but that feels like the most you've got here. Jilbu sidesteps the Dark Sphere for now. Maybe look for some more. Flash on it into the Shockwave. There's your cowball combo. Can they find anything more, though? Urban flashing away. Crow likely to die and does so. Nativz do find a kill on the board and will get to drop the Herald in mid lane.
Posturing so aggressively when you have Rusty Sniper down bot side hitting away at that tier 2 turret. Can't you just play safe whilst he hits that? Instead, they look for a play, and now they're going to lose. Not quite enough to secure that objective bounty, but still not an optimal fight. Jail Urban slacking a little bit in this mid-game macro.
A little bold, and they do get punished, but now they can turn it around. There's the pull out from Chrisberg. Oh, it's a disaster. We'll try and get something, but no, the kill is still donated over. Bendix get that one. The slow with the smite into that W from Renekton locks him in place, and as ruthless predator indeed. He is the biggest monster on the Rift. Also much a crocodile as a dinosaur right now.
Samson, he's just shifting down from topside, not getting tunneled on taking that top lane tier 2, but rather roaming down and flashing on the Alice to secure the kill on Crowbacks. Now he's heading down to bot side. They could play for that bot lane tier 2, however. It is chunked because Rusty Sniper did push it in.
Players here, but it's a risky position to be in. Doesn't know where everybody else is, particularly Lundorf looking for something. Q3 misses. Lundorf rooted in place. Might now be in danger as the Magnusol comes on through, and he's dead. He's down. Rusty Sniper gets a 4th. Jilbu trying. Gets a win, becomes lightning, but lightning will not strike twice. The feathers certainly will. And Bendix picks up another, and suddenly, from the moment we brave Nativz for punishing a JL overstep, it's just JL and Rusty Sniper punishing even harder. It's not done. Relay flashes will get a command protect. Chrisberg tries to get something. Crow does go down, but Rusty Sniper will not allow his support to go down unpunished. And they'll force off the mid lane T1. They will pick that up as well. Bendix unleashes the power. It's steak for dinner.
Knows his damage perfectly. What is happening? Every single play is just matched, and now it's 11-4 in kills. And JL, yeah, absolutely. That was perfect knowledge of the damage, by the way, knowing exactly that last ball would take over to kill the Alistar. Really beautiful stuff from Bendix, and this game just exploded initialize. What happened?
Well, I think what happened, Eragon, is we saw Crow get picked in the mid lane, and then that made JL quite angry, and they decided, I'm going to stunt on these fools. And that's what they did, like 3 fights in a row.
Really, really crazy. And it's just these leads bleeding in from both side lanes, right? JL's bot lane as well as the top lane now just spreading to the mid lane fights. They've secured that mid lane tower, so you have that control mage with nowhere to go. You see Riley's really in danger here. He has to overextend to even farm waves. And I think we highlighted, right? The woes of playing into Xayah is that if you try to play dive into her, she can always disengage. That's why you have to pull off the dive so damn well and layer your CC so that you can engage even after she's popped it. But now...
Oh, Jolbu, they're even teleporting on this. There is nowhere for Xin to go. You might be a champion of the arena in Demacia. You are certainly not the champion here in the Aurora Cup right now. 1-3-2, desperately struggling. Lundorf roams on up but cannot land the Q3. Those Antofo strikes. Feeling more like the cricket right now because they're not far from being out. Rusty Sniper is here with the rest of the team. And remember, it's past 20 minutes now. They've got a man advantage to the jungle.
Samson!
They can look for something more. Samson goes in. Will get pulled back briefly with a Pathmaker. But he's healing up like an absolute monster. They just can't deal with the Renekton. It's a 1v3 and they still lose. Urban takes out Relay. Chromax goes down. He's Chrome minimum at this point. And back over towards that Baron they will go. More bodies secured. More gold in pocket. And more style points, frankly, as JL are just running over this mid-game.
Yeah, it feels like it's everything all but wrapped up, isn't it? You can see Jolbu's making a beeline to the Baron, but he can't do anything. He's got to settle for these wolves, and maybe Chrisberg can look for a mid lane tower as a consolation prize, but with that dragon coming up, it's not going to end. There's going to be another fight in a second. They can't get rid of a soul as well, otherwise the game is completely done.
Feels at this point that it must be a Hail Mary, but I'm going to have to be going through a few of those if you even want to just look at the item discrepancy. You've got stopwatches, you've got the additional last whisper component even for Rusty Sniper, and gets not even a completed second item right now for Chrisberg. Everywhere you look, it just makes it worse.
Yeah, it's just 2.5 items to 1.5 across the board, right? Except potentially top lane. It's absolutely brutal, but this might be the point where they're strongest, because if they go for the soul, they're going to get even stronger. Maybe then you have to only contest Elder, you know, the classic. Chromax desperately trying to secure vision to potentially move in. They do have a lot of TP flank wards, right? So I'll give it to Nativz. If they can potentially find a play with Lundorf and his TP, which is up, as well as Relays. You know, you don't typically want to flank on this champ, but maybe they got no choice. They try to move in through the bot side.
Find an angle, any angle, but I think despite the fact that Chrisberg picked up a second item, as we spoke about it, it is just too hard. They've been forced out of the red side jungle, as we were kind of talking about it. They have got to travel through such dark and dangerous waters, I suppose woods in this case, that it's just not worth it. Crow, vision right now, maybe it's just the pick game.
He's on a ward.
Urban's around. They're going to try and pull the shockwave. They do get it, but that's a shockwave onto one. Crow tries to get away. Nowhere to go. Will not flash. Goes down. Chromax gets that one. But now Samson gets to walk on in. A Rusty Sniper is dominating, but let's be real. It was the Renekton that did all the work there. They're trying to buy space. They're trying to buy time.
Samson.
The Crescent Guard comes on through. But my God, this Renekton, 404. Absolutely no care in the world about what's going on because there's no help path to be found. Samson just about survives. No, the turret finally secures him. Shut down to his lane opponent, but I feel that's a little too little and a little too late.
And he's just absolutely massive, isn't he? They tried to find a pick, find anything onto Crow. With Crow on that ward, they use everything to blow him up, but then they just have nothing. In the end, Chrisberg ends up in a terrible position with Samson able to just walk up. He tries to flash over the red pit, but can't reach it. And now they're going to secure an inhib off of it.
Oh, it's Renekton's always one of my favorites to cast purely because of the names, the abilities. Ruthless Predator, Cole the Meek, they are such visceral names. And it does feel like that's been very appropriate in this game because everywhere this Renekton goes, someone is having a very bad day.
Well, at least he can't get it again, right? I mean, this is one of Samson's best picks. It's absolutely brutal. Maybe Lundorf can secure it, but I absolutely do see a world where Jail is just banning Renekton now, right? Because they can't pick it, and it's I think alongside Rumble, probably the best top laners on the patch, right? You just don't give it over anymore because it's so damn broken.
It does feel pretty strong, and I think with the potency of things like the Gore Drink, with the fact that you can pair it up with things like the Jarvan with the Shojin and stuff, you feel like you've got an ability to have an early game win con in the top side, which kind of been a little bit absent in some ways from top lane, it feels like, over the last patch or two, with how potent a lot of those AD carries were for a long time. And now we've just got plays towards this mid lane. It's a dive. Rusty Sniper is legendary, and deservedly so. Samson teleports in, slices and dices forwards to try and get a hold of Crispy, but he's fast enough with the supercharge to keep his distance. But that was just a moment. They pull the snap engage, and down goes the mid laner.
Yeah, killed before he can flash away, really, as now that opens up Jail to be able to take that tier 2 top side as well as pressure down bot side. You can see they're juggling, right? They've got a decision to make. Do we play to kill Samsung, or do we just leave our base wide open now? They're going to funnel to mid and try to pray to defend this as... Lundorf is one shot.
Oh, they're getting a Q3, but it doesn't matter that much. The stopwatch will come on through. Rusty Sniper, legendary again. They'll be telling tales about him for years to come. He is folklore. He is the monster in the night. He's got a double kill. Jolba will run away. Samson gets that one. There's the other monster in the night. Another stopwatch to style on the triple kill. Maybe you can look for the Quadra here, but Riley will back away for now. They teleport back on him. Bendix, alongside a wonderful pillar from the jungler, will ensure surely a kill on the mid laner, but instead, I speak a little soon. But it's not soon enough to stop the game ending. Nativz put to the sword, or at least the club, when it comes to that trundle in game 1. GG to them.
26 minutes on the board, and they managed to close it out. What a crazy stomp. I don't think anyone expected that from JL.
That was pretty decisive. I think we both liked their draft coming out of it. You called out and you said, look, I really like this Trundle and how it takes apart some of the draft. Not sure about this Xin Zhao. And yeah, it kind of proved true, right? Like, it was close enough for the early game. And then the moment that initial Herald comes through, the moment that Renekton starts getting lead, it just became untenable to play the game practically.
Yeah, I think also you have just straight up individual prowess coming out from the top side of Samson, which is not something I expected, right? You have Lundorf, who's historically been to a lot of high tier events, like even Masters, almost making it to the main stage through play-ins. But yeah, you got questions arise now. What do you do about this Renekton? I'm so excited to see the adaptations they make, because it's his fearless draft, and now they can't pick it again.
I mean, I think you did come up with a really valuable point there, which was, look, at least the Renekton can't be picked again. Like, I know it sounds a little bit kind of cheeky to say it that way, but there's some serious truth. This champion is very strong. Samson kind of took over on it, and that's a pretty good feeling in some ways that you don't have to deal with it again.
I think on the bright side, a lot of the power picks in the current meta are now off the board. Just like I said with the Renekton, the Xayah is also incredible. The Rel is also incredible. All both gone. Right? Maybe have they overextended their hand? I think that's the question we have to ask, or can they carry this momentum through to the next few games?
Very, very important to keep an eye on it. Absolutely right. Just waiting here on production on the moment. I ask for it. Phil provides. We are going to a very swift break, and those questions about draft, those questions about how much of their power budget have they spent, well, I guess we'll have to see the rest of the series to see how it plays out. We'll see you back after the break for game 2 of this series between Nativz and Jlingz. Oh, welcome back, everybody. We were certainly having fun in the green room there. No, you won't get to know what about. That'll be, something you have to consider. Think about. Come up with your own stories. NLC fan fiction coming to you. That's a horrible thought to put in people's heads. We're going to get in so much danger with that. I take that back. Don't do that. That's a problem right there. Instead, what we should talk about, I think, is our game one, where we have a couple players we really need to be shouting out. First up on the docket, Rusty Sniper. We asked him to be a carry. He was certainly a carry. That Xayah was terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my immediate thoughts go down to that bot side fight where he held flash for so long, didn't flash the Alistair combo, held it until he saw the flashes come out from Chris Brook, from the ultimate, until he could definitely secure the Featherstorm, pull back, and he managed a 2v2 down the bot side. That was a really phenomenal play to me.
It was very, very well done. He became a serious win condition, but on the other side, Lundorf, what happened? That was supposed to be a Nativz top side kind of superiority in terms of players, and Samson kind of said no.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, it is a Renekton-favored matchup, right? You are naturally supposed to get a plate, you're supposed to force a TP and then keep the Cassante locked in lane whilst he falls behind a little bit of CS. But he really took it far, right? He managed to get 2 plates in isolation, even while being ganked, and managed to turn up to the 2nd dragon, 3rd dragon, 4th dragon, and TP back topside so that they couldn't cross map too. I thought Samson had a phenomenal performance, and I want to see him do it again.
And that'll be a question mark because he's not going to have the Renekton. This is a fearless draft. We are back with Nativz still on blue side, which is something we have generally thought the more powerful side, though fearless does throw that question mark in there. I do, however, also need to call out what you did earlier as well and say, Jolbu, we need to see something not Xin Zhao from you, because you were a bit worried about the champion pool getting pinched, and if you're down to Xin Zhao in game 1 on blue side, not a great sign.
This champion always feels like bait. I think I can say that pretty confidently now after seeing it so many times. But I think a big problem, and that's why you don't see it very often, letting jungle go through the 2nd rotation when you don't have that many champions available to you because it's fearless is a bad idea, in my opinion. You get pinched and have to fall so far down. I was highlighting maybe the Vi come in, but I guess he doesn't play it. And now I want to see an early jungle rotation for Jolby. Don't let him get pinched so hard where you get like all the jungle bans in the 1st and 2nd rotation bans.
Our eyes on that as well. I do want to point out some really big ticket champions on both sides. Used in game 1, Orianna, Kai'Sa, Cassante, Alistair, all off the table for Nativz. Those are some big ticket champions that didn't get a win. And it does mean things like that Orianna, which has been such high priority, has to be banned now by Nativz on blue side. It's led to the Rakan first pick. That's great. But you have got Nazir lock-in, which is the other one of those options. We'll keep our eyes on that.
So I think production is telling us that the production is telling us that the graphic is wrong.
It's Nativz saying Nativz won the first game at the top of the graphic.
Okay.
That's wrong. It's Jlingz that won the first game. So I thought there was something more serious wrong. That's a relatively fixed one. I appreciate that. I thought there was something wrong with what I was saying. We're okay there. For clarity, Jlingz won the first game. That is getting rectified at the top of your screen very rapidly. Azir, Nautilus lock in.
So I want to comment on something that's incredibly interesting. Because Jlingz already had picked Xayah, they couldn't break up the Lovers duo, and they couldn't pick away the Xayah when Nativz picked the Rakan. So preemptively they decided, you know what, we have to pick the Nautilus into the Rakan to give us the best lane possible, and maybe now we'll just see a Kai'Sa Nautilus combo. Something that's very interesting that's been coming out recently is more of the Kalista. I think, surprisingly, no one talks about this, but Kalista is the most banned champion at Worlds, right? Just straight up for some reason. Right, yeah, and I think it's because it's incredibly good into the Kai'Sa, but also decent into the Xayah, and you just hyper-focus, hyper-index into the engage, into Xayah, and just overwhelm her like we said last time. But it does look like it's going to be the Nico for the side of the Nativz, and that screams to me they want dive, right? So champions like the Nocturne, which is already banned, rise up in priority, but again, jungle's going through the 2nd rotation. We'll have to see how much Jolbu gets pinched again.
And it makes Nautilus' life so much harder. Like, if you mess up going in as a Nautilus right now, the counter engage from a Rakan or a Nico coming at you from the other side of the screen gets very, very tricky. This time around, there is no time for Nativz to ban out the Olaf, and that's swiftly locked in. Could go to jungle, could have obviously go towards top lane, which has been its more normal home of late. I think the likes of Adam has really popularized that O part of the gods lineup in top lane, so that will be locked in nice and early.
Yeah, so they have picked Nico into Azir, which I really like, because it is a very Nico-favored matchup. Nico throws a Q, and if Azir wants to trade back, he has to stand still to auto-attack, and he keeps taking ticks of the Blooming Burst. Yeah, it's not the best in the world, and now what I imagine is exactly what they're doing. They're banning out the biggest counters to the Olaf. You have champions like Jax, you have champions like other ones include Camille, who can neutralize and then outscale. Tryndamere, something that we're never going to see, but is something that can definitely do damage into the Olaf matchup as well.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean,
you never know.
You told me backstage that you've seen some wild stuff in the LDL, so I'm really hoping
Yeah.
we get some crazy stuff too. Not R2.
Yeah, no, we definitely saw over the course of many games in the LDL over this year, which of course is all fearless. We saw some interesting picks. We had the Quins, the Lilias tops. We had the interesting Vladimir picks that were always into things like Jax making his life very awkward. Instead, yeah, today some of those more interesting AD carries being hovered. It's not a Vayne lock-in quite yet, so I'm gonna wait on that. I feel like something more like that Ashe might be more normal. Of course, Aphelios is something that's also been pretty standard, as has, honestly, the Caitlyn as of late. We've seen a few people pick those ones up. I think all of these hovers have been options for the bot lane, which has been quite interesting. Instead, looks like it has just going to be that Sivir, more speed for your Olaf, more way to run down something like that. So.
Yeah. I think there's a bit of a mismatch in the bot lane, where you do have the run-in, sure, but down in the bot side, you really want to be able to hook the enemy Rakan, lock him down, and then blow him up, right? So stuff like Draven comes to mind, and that's exactly why they pinched it, and why Nativz have banned it away from Rusty Sniper. Aphelios is typically too short-ranged into Xayah. It was the only winning matchup against the Aphelios in LEC playoffs in the summer, so... Is that locked in, or is that hovered? I can't actually tell.
It's a hover. The Jarvan's in, the Darius is still being hovered.
Yeah, because Darius isn't that good into the Olaf. It's a skill matchup where you have to land the... If Olaf misses the axe, then Darius wins, but it's on the Olaf to mess up, and I wouldn't be surprised to see something else come in instead.
It's just going to be the Aatrox, which is a fairly normal top lane pick right now, but I still feel like the Olaf should have some options in there, and you don't get to be as disruptive if Olaf presses R. Those Qs don't have quite the same value you might have been looking for otherwise.
So I'm not surprised by the Jarvan pick. You have a really good synergy with the Nico. A lot of dive coming in with the combination of the Rakan, the Jarvan, and the Nico ults coming through to pick on that really immobile Sivir. Jarvan, infamous for being good into Sivir because you cannot get out of the Cataclysm and then will be forced to take the Nico ult. There's a really interesting interaction at the moment where Sivir cannot spell shield a Nico ult, right? It's just straight up. It might be bugged. I'm not sure if I could say that, but it is just not a good interaction for Sivir as... Final pick comes out, which is an incredible match for Lee Sin. Really, really good at skirmishing into the Jarvan. Jarvan can't land his flag, and Lee Sin just kind of brute forces him. So a lot of individual counters coming out from the bot side, but overall I'm leaning towards Nativz in terms of the draft because there's a lot more cohesion.
I see exactly what you mean. Like, the comp for Nativz, like, look, you can all dive, and Nativz and Xayah will be fine in terms of trying to survive that counter dive. You've got a lot of ability to look for those flanks, get those wombo combos together, and it feels pretty nasty. And you're right, it's going to be on those... I feel more like the skirmishing power in some ways of Jlingz, and some of those individual counters try and make things happen. And they may well have the potential. They played very well last game, and if you can start to snowball, say, that Olaf early on, and suddenly the Xayah doesn't get to use the Featherstorm as to get safety because Olaf just doesn't care for the CC you're throwing at him, then maybe it gets tricky. But I think I agree with you there that Nativz have a more coherent identity with the draft.
Yeah, I think they could play through topside pretty comfortably, though. Leave bot side to scale, have Crow potentially roam around on this Nautilus too and secure that Rift Herald. But it will be on Urban, on this Lee Sin, to make the plays because he does have the winning jungle matchup. Topside with Samsung, he's on a champion that needs to fight. Okay, Olaf is a champ that absolutely has to fight. He can't just sit back and do nothing. He has to push and use his priority or fight to the death topside because that is just the nature of the champion. So I want to see more topside action with that Lee Sin shadowing the Olaf.
I mean, especially with how his W works. Just like, I do more damage the lower HP I am. Like, if you're not fighting with Olaf, you're probably playing the champion wrong. Yeah. Let's be real. Like, you've kind of got the wrong, like, from character fantasy to actual mechanics to just lane state, all of these things say just fight. Just you know, throw an axe and pray for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. But mainly for the side of Nativz, I'm looking at the level 6s, right? Outside of some early game shenanigans on the top side with the Lee Sin and the Olaf skirmishing, the out-skirmishing the Jarvan and the Aatrox, I'm looking at level 6s because that's when Nativz come online, right? With that Nico ult, with the Rakan ult, infamously broken on that Rift Herald. So 8 minutes is the mark. Until then, probably not too much outside the odd dodgy skirmish topside.
Yeah, and of course, there's a world where Lee Sin gets something going early, or a Jarvan finds a level 2 gank. You know, there are those kind of X-Factor moments. Yeah, but we'll have to keep our eyes on those, and those are sometimes still easier said than done. I tend to agree with you. It feels like Herald will be where our eyes turn, and I think our teams will be geared up and ready to fight it out, especially considering some of those champions, like, say, that Olaf coming at level 6, very strong. You've already mentioned the fact you've got this Lee Sin, this Jarvan. You're already looking at things like Nico ult. First Nico of the game could be very, very potent around that park. So definitely something I think that will be pretty telling to how this game is supposed to play out.
I think The only problem I have with the Lee Sin, right, is typically you draft Lee Sin with some kind of setup to make sure he can land his combo. You know, stuff like the Nico, stuff like the LeBlanc, the Lissandra, Twisted Fate is an old classic.
Infamously. Yeah,
right? Syndra as well.
Twisted Fate. Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't have that really in the mid lane from the Azir, except for like some crazy shuffle at 6. You don't have anything consistent. The only real setup you have down is the bot side with that Nautilus on the hook, which is great, but maybe then he has to decide, you know, I'm going to play for bot side because the only lane I can really gank, because the rest of the lanes don't really have great setup from my Q, right? I can't really get on anyone. That's why champions like LeBlanc are so good with them, because they guarantee setup with, for example, the chain. That's the only hesitation I have with Jlingz, and I think it's going to make things rough in the early game for skirmishing and finding plays.
I think if it does come towards those kind of team fights, your ability to thread the needle gets that much harder when all the holes you're trying to thread through are moving. You don't, you know, unless you land a very good Nautilus, R, it does get quite tricky potentially to find the right angles there in a way that will be consistent. Of course, you know, you can also play to be disengaged, right, between the Nautilus and the Azir shuffling people away and you kicking people away. Maybe you can try and play the Lee Sin as more of a denial pick against things like the Nico coming on in, but that doesn't feel like the most satisfying way to play Lee Sin, I have to say.
Yeah, I feel like you have a composition that's running in with that Olaf, but then you're going to run in and die. Right, that's the problem. You're running headfirst into a Nico.
Right? There's nothing to back it up. Yeah.
They got no potential peel for the immobile AD carry, so the Sivir is just going to have to run and wait out a million different threats before she can actually auto-attack. And that's the problem I have with the side of JL, where we talked about cohesion in drafts. It just feels like they don't have that. There's early ward spots out the bot lane, and maybe they can perform a collapse here. The problem is Jarvan infamously does not have a great level 1, right? It's just a flag. So I don't think anything will happen, but more of a scouting to determine if they're going to get invaded or not, because that Olaf level 1, if he was down there, potential to be a lot of damage.
I suppose if you compare that to something like a Nautilus level 1 with his passive and his root and his hook, you're not going to have a very good time with that one. The Rusty Sniper has decided against something like a Boomerang Blade start and gone straight for the Ricochet, looking to get shove and priority nice and early, and that's something that potentially Jlingz will have the opportunity to do, is to try and fight for priority with some of their lanes.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see trading coming down from bot side as a level 2 gank might come down. Chromax?
Gonna find the initial engage.
It's
Remember, Rusty Sniper doesn't have that much option. He's gonna find the flash engage. Crow trying to run away! Surely goes down. First blood to Chrisberg.
Oh, the lack of heal coming out for Rusty Sniper. Has that ghost, can't heal him up, but it was a really good attempt from Crow. Still super creative from Joel, but I really like to see it. Not giving it away. I thought they might have engaged a little bit too soon, but they find the kill.
Oh, they tried to make it happen. I was a bit worried there as well once the flag and drag didn't hit, but just the raw damage coming out and there was nowhere for Crow to go. Say straight as the Crow flies. Apparently he was flying straight back to the fountain early on here. Could have gone worse, I suppose. Rusty Sniper holds onto the summoners. Crow only bones the flash. It could still be worse, and of course, we did kind of talk about it. There was always that potential of something a little bit shenanigan-y. That's a horrible word to say from the Jarvan. I'm not sure it's even actually a word, but here we are. So I've done it now. You're welcome.
Oh, good. I mean, so the thing is, a level 2 gank's a really big investment, so it's really good that that worked out, but now his clear is going to be slow. He's going to opt to recall and head to his topside camps. We might see an invade now, because Urban knows that his clear is so delayed from that bot side gank. You could see that the Rakan is already on the way to make sure he doesn't get invaded, because he knows that Jolbu's clear is slowed down.
Of course, there's a world where Urban goes straight to Krugs, but I wonder whether you're absolutely right, whether he does look to go for that invade, deciding against it, kind of aware that actually there is no Rakan in lane. Maybe that would be a risk to go for the invade. I'm just going to go for that full clear themselves and maybe just try and double scuttle instead. It might be the safer option.
Yeah, I mean, they're a bit confused too, because really it's actually turned into the Xayah. They're wondering, you know, will the Xayah be there for the collapse if I invade? And instead...
He's not got to his topside jungle. He's just finished. He's just come back here. He's sitting in mid lane. Oh, Bendix.
I mean, this play has to work. Bendix, he's suspicious. And I think, Jolbu's giving himself away. He's going to go to the top side. Now, they have priority in the top side. I wouldn't be surprised to see Samsung come and invade as well. He's just a bit but he will get a cookie soon if he's running that rune.
Lundorf lands the dummy. He's gone very deep. It's all a bait. He's got to be so afraid. Samsung can start to try and punish this one out. In they go with the ward up. The slow comes down with the cripple. And Samsung throws out another undertow and drags Lundorf under.
I think
what a disaster.
I think what Lundorf was thinking was that Lee Sin was actually invading. Because surely, after all that shadowing in the mid lane and that level 2 gank down bot side, the Lee Sin would be invading the blue buff rather than ganking, right? Surely. But in the end, it just wasn't the case. Really patient rank from JL Urban. waiting for the engage from Lundorf, and Lundorf just being a bit overeager.
Samson just playing the role of bait pretty well there as well, knowing he had the support of the Lee Sin. Because I think the other option there was Urban comes in, helps to shove the wave, and then they both go for that invade together. And instead, Lundorf tries to preempt it and gets punished. And now you're in this position where, yes, First Blood's gone down bot side. That's great, but we needed to see a little bit of that snowball somewhere for Jlingz with the draft they'd gone for. It's not going to be as easy in the 5v5s, and that's a good start for the top side of the map.
Yeah, I don't like him hovering mid unless, like, think Bendix is going to get ganked, because there's just no setup. We highlighted this before. Look, he's just running around mid lane, getting nothing, because there's no setup from Azir. Samson, there's no flash for Lundorf. Might get run down
this
here.
Could be really problematic. He's going to have to find a really good
Samson has
umbral
flash.
dash. Just so they don't, let's conquer it down. There's flash to work with as well. It's just a straight-up solo kill.
It's just a massacre in the top side, right? The wave wasn't even frozen, so Lundorf didn't have to actually walk up so far. The wave was eventually going to bounce back to him. Still, really good play from Samson, using that lead that Urban gave him, and Urban must be smiling right now. You know, top side's won.
Yeah, never don't have to return anymore. Like, it's going to make things at the Herald a lot harder as well. Like we were saying, that should have been a Nativz power point. I think now you're looking at this point, you're going, this Olaf turns up to a Herald fight, we're going to have a horrible time.
Yeah, and this is why I was a bit concerned, right? This is why I named a bunch of champions that do well into Olaf, and Aatrox wasn't one of them, as Bendix gets engaged with the ult.
Pot Blossom is going to be flashed away from, but Bendix does have to burn that summoner. And Rilla hitting that level 6 nice and early causes some pain for Bendix in the mid lane.
Yeah, wow. That was a really early level 6 from Rilla. You can see Bendix was quite late on that. He didn't hit it, and there's a really big surprise engage coming in from the Nico. Still, good flash from Bendix, and now you can see Jolbu's level 4, the same level as Crow, the support on Nautilus. He is so far behind because of all this time investment. I think that's the name of the game, this game. Nativz Jolbu trying so hard to find plays on this Jarvan and be incredibly far behind. Now Urban can run away with it because he's so far ahead in his clear.
Definitely is, and I think potentially with the strike, he might even hit level 6. He's got to be a camper so off. I don't think he's going to be very far at 48 CS.
Oh, no.
Assist to work with as Lundorf has to hit that escape button with the R, but it will be at least traded out for Samson's Ragnarok, but still looking pretty unpretty up there.
Yeah, gonna have the plan to bail him out a little bit in terms of HP, but it's still rough. Look at the wave state up top side. He has that freeze, so with that Boots 2 advantage versus Boots 1, he's always going to be able to have that move speed difference to be able to run down Lundorf on this Aatrox. You can see he's kind of just running around the map, clearing wards, but he can never really make any plays. It's so hard to step up and even soak XP.
Also, now with that control ward in the tri-brush there, you can just see a quick little jaunt over the wall there from Urban, and Lundorf is going to have no help breaking this freeze.
Yeah, I think if Jolbu comes, he's just dead as well, because Urban's level 6 and Jarvan's level 5.
Yeah.
Lundorf.
Oh, no. They can look for this now. This has
no
to be
flash.
a very good Umbral Trespass. There's the Q, trying to hold on to it before that goes over the wall. Jolbu comes on
look,
down. Mid lane, you're absolutely right. There was a little bit of an attempt from Rilla there to maybe look towards it, as this mid lane matchup has been going very well for the Nico. Forced out an early TP, and now we're over towards these Raptors as Crow is around, but Jolbu is trading out with the Nautilus at the same level as you said. Lundorf has roamed as well, knowing that I just can't be in lane. I might as well try and help my teammate elsewhere. I think we've got a scuffle emerging here.
It's really rough. I think Jail can do whatever they want because there's level disadvantage. Crow is here trying to get level 6, but Crow Max isn't soaking XP like Crow is, so wouldn't be surprised to see 2 level 6s versus 2 level 5s. It's Rusty Sniper, he pulls the trigger.
Zonga on the hunt. Chrisberg eating the wrong end of some ricochets, misses the feather pullbacks. Can try and look for a boomerang blade towards the top lane. We go. Oh my god, this
Olaf
is a monster!
He's 1v4!
Needs a final auto!
No!
No!
Oh no! He tries to buy up a little bit more than he can chew. Level 7 on Olaf isn't enough. One auto attack. And that potentially is the Herald fight gone.
Oh. Turns out the speed boost from the side of, I guess that must have been his ultimate? No, he's just come up, so he can't even be the ultimate. He just couldn't quite get in range.
That's just such a damn close fight in the end, and everything burned, all that burst down, and it kind of stings a little bit for Urban because you've invested so much time and patience into this Olaf to secure a lead, and now you don't even get the Rift Herald, which is the eventual payout that you want from investing in topside. Botside trading coming a lot. Look at both junglers. They're pathing and beelining straight for bot side. They're pinging the camps they want to go to too. Maybe they will go. He's pinging red wraiths into a mid gank. I wouldn't be surprised to see that from Jolbu there.
Yeah, just kind of trying to see out. And Bendix was looking to get a little bit of advanced vision there to spot out what's going on. Puts down the ward. They know it's there. control ward comes on down to deny that for now, is really once again turning into this Xayah, but just hiding his own health bar as it stands.
Yep. Bot lane's just going to reset, right? Nothing too crazy. I imagine Bendix is going to err on the safer side of things as well, so he doesn't get ganked. And when he dropped a ward, he saw the potential. And supports are on room timer now, right? I don't want Chromax to reveal himself, because then he potentially gives away the gank. If he hits a ward, they'll show where he is, and Bendix won't.
There he is.
Oh, there's the ward.
Okay, so this would be a 2v3 going
Urban?
in anyway. Of course, Urban does have the ability to get out of this, but it's going to get
no.
rooted in place. That's just a disaster! And Crow's too late.
And we highlighted mid-game skirmishing. This is where these champions shine. This trio of Nico, Jarvan, Rakan have such insane potential for chain CC. You just pop as...
Hang on.
What's going on here?
Gonna have to Ragnarok for the side of the world ender because of the infernal chains locking down. Samson was trying to hold on to that best he could. Couldn't quite make it happen. And instead, we just have to go back to that acute case of Lee syndrome we just saw. He landed the Q, and his body was telling him yes.
Yeah.
The vision control was telling him, please don't do this, and it did not matter.
Yeah,
Maybe
and then
Chromax.
chain CC
Okay,
from
fine.
the knockup into the chains from the Nico is just such an...
That's
He's
just
dead.
it. Okay, nicely done. Bendix bends it like Beckham.
Yeah. I mean, he's fighting
Bendix
back,
like
isn't
Beckham.
he? Oh, no.
I've been holding on to that one for a little while, mate. I'm sorry.
I respect it.
I
Coming
don't.
down.
I don't. Like, there's nothing to respect it. That was a bad punt. As into the mid lane we go. Kicked under the turret, but now the pop blessing comes on down. We'll still be locked away. Jolbu comes on
Urban's
through
dead.
with the flag and the drag. Can't quite make it work. 1-for-1 right now. Jolbu has got flash. May well be forced to pop it. Does so to avoid the dredge line and stays alive.
Yeah, I think what they were looking for there was a Rift Herald into mid, into moving down into the bot side river to secure vision for this dragon that's spawning, but the engage catches them off guard. However, that's where we see the Jarvan plus Nico combo come in, and they one-shot Urban. I don't think he's expected to die both of these times.
Samson just blew flash. Got forced out to using that top side. I'm assuming it must be another good Infernal Chains landing in. Aatrox matchup beginning to turn around just a little bit. That's a pretty good summon to be blowing in that matchup.
Yeah, points in the queue, lowering the cooldown a lot means that, you know, that's where, this is where Aatrox starts to shine. He's incredibly good in the early to mid game when these queues come off cooldown over and over again. And Samsung, like you said, no flash. Jolbu gonna get spotted on ward though. Doesn't look like it's gonna be a play. Does have Ghost.
Be very difficult. There's Ghost, there's Ragnarok. Can certainly look to play this one out if they manage it right. The CC locks aren't going to be so easy. The W just
has
pops.
no
Doesn't
mana.
have the shield. Teleport coming on through. You're absolutely right. No mana. We'll find Roulette, though. Has to pop the Ragnarok. But now he's so desperately low, and I feel like that means Bendix has to stay here to claim the wave. But now he's going to get jumped on. Gonna throw out the Blooming Burst over the top of this. Shuffles him under tower. Gets some damage back. Can't quite get any more. The tower shots do the work. Lundolf now under the tower. Is going to die to the final tower shot. And it's a 2 for 2.
I mean... It's just a comedy of errors from both sides over and over again, right? I think Samsung trying to stay when he should just recall because he's Olaf's incredibly mana gated as a champ because he wants to chain axes, right? And then Bendix trying to go for vision and face checking into a Jarvan so he gets chunked, but then Jarvan getting shuffled back in and both sides suffering casualties when they shouldn't, really? You'd think anyway.
At least it's 2 kills towards Bendix, who was falling a little behind in this mid lane matchup. The problem is, look how many plates they're just getting topside. There was already the Herald drop mid as well. This Nico is getting fed a lot of gold in this early to mid game.
Yeah, I mean, it's Nico, right? A lot of analysts currently in Worlds think Nico is incredibly sleeper and broken. I think that's a product of dive compositions utilizing her incredibly well, and we're seeing it here, right? She looks incredibly strong into the Azir, and a beautiful bit of drafting coming out from Nativz, as we see in this topside play, right? Transitioning into plates, and now Rift Herald's up. No summoners for Samson. Every summoner up for Lundorf.
I'm completely there with you, and I think just Nico has decent matchups into most of the kind of meta mages in mid lane. Can certainly look to set up for people, will trade well through the wave. If you ever get hit by the root, you're getting hit by the Q, and that feels pretty miserable. You know, you've been over that a little bit with the Azir already, and it's not untrue with the Orianna to boot, so let's see how that one plays out, whether Rilla can look to leverage the lead they have individually. Maybe like this. Can't quite get it rated. Oh, no! The moment we talk about it, the moment they're in trouble, gets kicked under turret. The turret will do its work. It will be traded out, though. as Chromax is in mid lane to make sure it is an even trade. Now, though, Jolbu's in danger. We'll have to flag and drag over the wall, but there's still a Q2 to follow through. Dreadslide lands onto the Rakan, but not that much more. Depth Charge gets one, drags him under, and now the teleport comes on through, but will not find as much more as they were hoping, as Lundorf on the wrong end of a number of ricochets. Now mid lane tier 1 is for JL's to take.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't look great for the side of JL at the time because Crow was late, right, to the play. You had the 3-man squad that we highlighted before with the Rakan, the Nico, and the Jarvan. They were there on time, but Crow was late. Unfortunately, though, he manages to find the hook onto the Rakan, and they turn it into a Rift Herald in the tower. Really good stuff from JL, turning around about a poor play. And this is the mid-game macro that we saw coming from the last game, right? This was the game exploded in the mid-game last game, and now it's happening again, performing really well as a unit.
I also feel like we ought to put out an apology to Riley after we've been giving them so much praise, and then they fumble the mid lane combo pretty heavily, get kicked under turret and die. Like, that's a bit of an oopsie, and especially from a guy who's gotten the lead. He is the person with the lead on this team. In fact, production, if we can, could we have a look at the gold, the individual gold totals for the champion? I don't know if that's something that's possible right now, but if we can, it'd be good to see.
Nice.
Yeah, there is a fairly significant lead in that mid lane individually there. It's about 1,200 odd gold.
Yeah, I mean, it's the solo laners, right? Both of them about a K up almost. Topside was a bit more before those solo deaths, but solo laners generally playing extremely well. Oh, wait, no, sorry. The wrong way around. Yeah, really? Honestly, completely smurfing on the Azir. And this is why we highlighted in the champ select, right? Nico destroys Azir, and it's turning into lots and lots of plays, despite losing a tower.
Yeah, and that's partly why it's very frustrating then when you're the person with all this lead, with all this gold, to kind of get picked off a little bit for free there in the mid lane with the Pop Blossom kind of fizzling out. At least we're seeing Chrisberg get a hold of some of these turrets, having honestly had a bit of a rough laning phase again. The Sivir running at the Xayah repeatedly and causing some trouble, just holding on to the spell shield until the feathers get pulled, made it quite difficult. And of course, it's not actually Chrisberg. Gonna look to the mid lane.
Oh no, the flank!
Sniper has to flash on out, trying to get it in, but they're under the turret, and they make it happen. The dive goes on through. Of course, it was never Chrisberg in the bot lane, it was just Relay in the guise of them. I got baited by the mini-map. It's also been a bit of a bait. Is this mid lane tier 1? Urban trying to clear out the wave. We'll get the hook. Remember, there's no wave. That leaves Chrisberg in danger. Flashes to no avail. Will try and get out to safety, but Lindorf beginning to train on out. The flash comes on through into the kick to disengage. And Urban just knows his way around the Lee Sin.
Yeah, I mean, it all started with a really nice multi-point flank for the side of Nativz. Lundorf was hovering in vision, out of vision on the top side near the chickens, and they just didn't expect it. JL, Rusty Sniper, gets collapsed on, flashes away, but then the Jarvan EQ flash gets secured. And now Dragon's up. It's not going to stop Initialize. I think it's going to keep going. Samson is either caught or he's going to 1v3.
Gets a chunk. Oh, and the Infernal Chain missed. Lundorf's in danger. Look at whether they can find anything more. Of course, Samson can't go over the wall. They do just about get out there. You began to fear a little bit once those chains missed. But they will have to back away. Chrisberg has respawned, but there is absolutely no priority in the river right now for Nativz. Not looking like Infernal Soul Point for Jlingz.
Yeah, no priority in the mid lane, no priority in the bot side. The only play they have is potentially to secure Samson here, but they don't have the DPS, so they're not going to opt to go for it. They're going to just have to concede, and that's Soul Point for JL. They really need to be strong for the next dragon. Otherwise, it's going to be 8 dragons in a row for JL, I think.
It feels like they got Soul last game. They're on 3 this game. Yes, the gold is pretty much even, but that additional win condition makes things very, very tricky. And to be frank, the fact the Azir and the Sivir haven't been shut down does raise an occasional alarm bell here for all that you've got a good dive.
Yeah. I mean, it's really odd, right? I feel like there was so much of a lead for the side of Nativz early on with these combos in the mid game, in the mid lane as well. Urban should be fine, just wards hops out of there. But then they just started getting picked. I think Crow landed a nice hook as he might be dead.
I think he's just dead to rights. Does
yeah,
get
no
out
flash,
the depth charge before too much danger. And Chromax is just trying to body block a hook. They can't quite get in range. Gets away from it. Has to force the Cataclysm. And that will force at least something extra out. Crow can't quite get away with it. He did have the flash, but I just don't think it would have been quite enough.
It's quite interesting. You have Samson playing jungler, shadowing the mid lane potential plays for Rusty Sniper, whilst the jungler Urban is split pushing on that Lee Sin with that Rift Herald. Samson, take a look. He's just walking in because he's so damn strong and he's better at shadowing than the Lee Sin. And Urban, maybe they can get this crash on the tier 2, but it looks like he's going to walk away.
Chromax misses the grand entrance. That puts this in a bit of an interesting position. Chromax is in danger, does have a battle dance.
Oh, he's so
get
slippery.
him out to safety for now, and Rakan 2 dashes and a grand entrance.
Yeah.
Makes you very difficult to lock down for any extended period of time.
Probably alongside Pyke as the most slippery champ in the game. Really phenomenal in terms of ability to escape. And again, it's just it's another up play for JL. Good play for JL, rather, as they secure top lane tower. And now they can play for these tier 2s as the Baron is also spawning. And I do think they have a decent amount of damage once the Azir potentially completes his second item.
I think if you get 2 items on a Sivir and a Azir and an Olaf, Baron is not going to survive very long at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's spawning now. They do have full topside control. I don't think they'll ever start this up, right? They'll probably look for a pick in the topside and maintain vision control there. You can see Samson is hovering around topside, afraid to get picked as well, because if he dies, then it could be flipped on its head and they could lose Baron too. Bendix might look for a play on Riley, though. It's the shuffle.
Certainly look to catch him. Will have Urban behind, but remember, that would be your jungler and mid laner showing towards the bot side, and if you show too aggressively there, Baron is certainly a starting point. Samson will be forced to Ragnarok, but begins to turn this one around. He can win this one if he wants. Chrisberg finally coming on in. Flashing on to Chromax, can't quite make it work. Rusty Sniper is there. And now he's beginning to turn around as Chrisberg gets chunked out very heavily. The Featherstorm comes on through. Lundorf trying to get on there. Will finally Cataclysm to kill off the Sivir. And they do win that one out, but it got very close indeed.
Yeah, I think they're too chunked to start the Baron. Really nice set of plays, kiting Rusty Sniper until he gets low enough for Julbert to just pull the trigger and finish him off. Chrisberg playing on the edge on very low HP, but still, this pick ultimately not going to amount to anything. Summoners and ults are down now, however, and honestly, not a great trade for Azaya without ult.
Yeah, you had to use 4 ultimates there to get a singular kill. Yes, you do have to burn the flash on, I think Riley burned it down towards the bot lane and Chromax burned there as well. Samson's traded their summoners, right? You've traded a couple summoners for a singular kill, but it doesn't lead to Baron. It doesn't lead to that much more. And that honestly was a 4v2 for large periods of that.
Yeah. Looks like we're going to... Oh, as we go into
we're going to see a pause, is what we're going to see.
Cut me off a little bit there, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them go mid into bot or mid into top now, where they shadow mid, secure vision, and then secure vision for either the dragon, which is probably going to be the main thing. Because Soul, it matters a lot in this game. I imagine what they're going to do is go mid into bot.
And you've got Elisen, who is 60 CS of his opposing number right now. You've got Olaf, you've got Azir, you've got Sivir. If you give those guys Infernal Soul on top of that, like, the raw damage will happily overcome the likes of a potential comp discrepancy in terms of, like, we've got really great dive for the side of Nativz.
I think, especially since I do believe that Jlingz do outrange as well. It's a matter of outrange versus engage. Can Nativz actually find the flanks and the engages onto the outranging opponents with that Azir, with that Sivir, with the boomerangs and the ricochets? Can you secure the range disadvantage and actually manage to get on them? That's the test that Nativz have to like navigate, especially once it comes to this next dragon. I want to see some flank TP wards potentially for the Nico.
Yeah, it does feel like outside of individual picks, we haven't seen that much from the Nico in terms of a grouped up big part of an engage, around a team fight, around an invade even. It's been much more individualistic. We saw like the Herald fight sort of, but that was a 1v3 with Samson nearly killing Lundorf. I'm not sure I really count that, and that is a little problematic actually. Like, I expect better from Relay with the lead they've gotten with the comp they're in as well. This should be a pretty potent game for Nico, and we've yet to really see that come to fruition. It's going to have to around some of these recent objectives, because if the Infernal Dragon goes wrong, if it goes significantly enough wrong, Baron comes online on top of that as well. Then you're down Soul and Baron at once. If a fight goes very wrong, that's very tricky. On the other hand, if you win that Infernal Dragon fight, then you can potentially look towards Baron. You can potentially look to snowball the game, but the map state is tricky because you are being drawn between these two objectives, and you haven't found the fights you've been looking for. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's on Jlingz. At one point, they were down in the mid lane, right? They were down in the mid lane versus the skirmishing power of the Nico, the Jarvan, and the Rakan, but then they managed to find one pick. Crow managed to land a hook, I believe, on the flashing target, and landed on the Rakan, and that just, like, it cascaded into a bunch of different picks over and over again, and the map just fell apart for the side of Nativz. And I don't know how they're going to take control of this bot side vision, because they have to be able to move in and find flank wards and find all of this, and that's going to be incredibly tricky when they have so little control.
We need to look out for it because, as you said, you want that Nico flank. You want something to come in and make it harder to use the range advantage you have, and to find out whether they can do it shortly, because we are back into game and the gold remains pretty even, slightly favoring Nativz, but I will point out that kind of additional stat front, because you've got 3 dragons, is pretty significant at this point, and you've already got a Sivir at 2 items. Your Zir's not far off that as well. You're not feeling too bad here if you're Jlingz.
Yeah, we're definitely looking for some item completions, right? We're looking for the Sterak's for the Olaf, we're looking for the Shojin for the Aatrox on the flip side, and then same all the way across the board. Nash's for the Azir. You know, you do have 2 items on the Severe, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Rusty Sniper give over waves. That's probably what would be the best play there. But still, just going to clear it out, maintain control. Bendix down a little bit of gold.
Oh, 50 seconds! He fails the flash! He fails the flash! That's the jungler! He gets a Cataclysm down, but the only thing cataclysmic is that pick for the side of Nativz. They can head straight over the Baron, screw the soul. They have everything in their hands right now.
They could always come back later for the soul, even if it gets cross-map away. It's only the first dragon for Nativz. They've got a zone, though, right? There's still potentially a play. There's definitely going to be a contest.
It has to be. You lose the Baron here as well, and this game gets so difficult. No idea what the HP is down, but they don't have a smite. There has to be a good fight to turn this one around. Crow gets rooted, but gets to back away. Baron down. Samson has popped the Ragnarok, but the HP bars on Nativz aren't fantastic either. Samson will just try and throw out a parting gift of an undertow, and Nativz will at least claim a dragon, but that is a paltry prize considering what they just lost.
Yeah, I really like what Samson did there in the end of that fight. He was kiting away to potentially bait Nativz to chase him, and that way they managed to burst down the dragon. And you can see pings coming down now, right? They're pinging to get topside vision, and they're going to play mid into top, and potentially for this tier 2 in the mid lane and the top side. They're running it down, straight down mid lane, whilst the recalls are coming in for the side of Nativz.
Urban escorts that wave in mid lane. It does disappear in short order. There is still decent wave clear here for the side of Nativz, but that is an unfortunate pick to give on over. Jolbu had been having a pretty solid game on the Java, but moments like that, they're going to haunt you if that ends up being the what leads to the loss of the game.
They got to find the engagers now. The siege is coming down.
Ooh, looking for the root, won't quite find it. Did Hex Flash over. They will have to back away. Crow misses the Dread Side. Cannot Spider-Man away, but that's just so much damage. And Crow's dead, goes too deep.
Gotta engage before the siege comes down, before you're split into 3 or 2 lanes, and they manage to find it. Crow, like you said, whiffing the hook to get away, and then the Jarvan EQ comes down. Maybe a bit of an overextension. You could see he was Hex Flashing over to try and burst the Aatrox onto tower, and they could just play Baron instead.
That's unfortunate. It means that as it stands, this Baron push has been somewhat muted, frankly. They're not going to get as much out of this as they were hoping. They tried to force the dive. Lundorf survives. Instead, they lose their own support. Back to the scene of the crime they go. Oh, relay?
Or is he sniper?
Relay! Flashes away, trying to stay alive. That's the grand entrance into the quickness, but all the while, shot down onto Bendix. This range advantage is finally being punished. Finally, we're seeing some of these 5v5s, but the HP bars are desperately low. Nativz get one, but I don't know if they're going to get Chrisberg. Off screen just kills off the Sivir. Q misses from Urban again. Samson would love to get in. They're going to get the ultimate finally out. Chrisberg flashing away, goes down, gets another, does this Lee Sin. The continued shoots as Lundorf comes back on in, but I don't know how much he's going to get. Gets kicked into a wall, Crow back from the dead. Triple kill to the Lee Sin, who will finally fall as the Blooming Burst claiming. Relay with no mana though, and a Dreadfire undertow to bring him down. Jolbo is here, and what are we witnessing? Another one of these absolutely mad fights. I think it'll end up shortly in a 4-for-4 sort of.
They did it so well. They managed to pull off the 2 versus 4 initialize. Urban and Samson, despite having Bendix and Rusty Sniper, their carries managing to fall, they pull off the 2 versus 4. Phenomenal.
I legitimately tipped my microphone over in the middle of that. I was so excited. I had to reorient mid-team fight.
That was an incredible fight. Managing to find the engages and just the raw gold coming out the showcase with those 2.5 item spikes bursting down the enemies. Lundorf trying to salvage it. Same with Jolbu, but they just lack damage. They're too far behind.
And, like, we saw Lundorf go down, come back, get in trouble again. We saw Chrisberg kill off Bendix and Rusty. We're thinking, oh, this most should be it. And then Urban gets a triple kill on the Lee Sin to end the fight. Like...
And it looks like that was the play, right? That was the play for Nativz to come back, delaying that Baron siege. But and honestly, I think you could argue that wasn't the good play from Jlingz, right? They should have just waited for the carry to respawn and come back, and that way they could siege 5v5 again. But they just flexed on them. They flexed them in 2v4.
Oh, Samson.
Samsung, 1v3.
He's going to try.
He has flash.
Does throw down the Ragnarok. We need to flash in very... They're teleporting in. Bendix, no. Will flash away. Tries to say hello. It's a good shuffle. Really can't quite get in range. The Pop Blossom's not there. And they extricate their top laner.
I think they're getting a bit over-eager, trying to find these plays. Managing to find them, and you can see Severe's pushing down mid, right? That's a mid lane tower because Samson outplays and gets away. Thanks to the TP from Bendix, though, managing to push away with that Azir wall.
Yeah, I thought that teleport was going to be not great. There was a moment where Kobe was going to be quoted, and understandably so, but does get the Azir wall up, stops 2 dashes, gets to shuffle away, and they get away with it. I thought that was going to be an absolute disaster, but as you said, Nativz collapse, don't get anything for it, and Siv's shoving mid.
Yeah, the teleport definitely didn't suck. I actually really liked it. Buying enough time because you're so fed on this Olaf. I think a little bit overeager once again. Just play to secure vision, right? Keep both mid and bot lane pushed. Keep the vision control in the bot side jungle because you have that push, and then you can eventually transition that into a dragon when it spawns. Don't go for these 1v3s. I know you're super strong. I know you've been playing well all series. Samson, you probably have a bunch of confidence, but you don't need to do it. Just secure that soul.
Pride comes before a fall, or potentially a shutdown, which would be not great to be giving on over. We've got a minute or so until what will be soul for the side of Jlingz if they can secure it, but that might be easier said than done. The sniper, just to be a little bit afraid about who might just be in that jungle, but we'll be backing away before Lundorf can look to jump on the Sivir. And now we just have to look for setup around this dragon. We have to look for some of those flank wards you're asking for from Nativz.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at deep wards, there are some down on the bot side that could be a flank on the bottom side near the bot bushes. That's a very long way away, though, as mid lane prio does get contested.
Of course, you are trying to contest into an Azir and a Sivir. That's
Rakan.
easier said than done.
He's dead.
Big knock-up. Chromax is in danger. Samson keeps on rubbing. They can't quite kill him. The Ignite will do the work. Now they go on in. Monster Azir shuffle. Will Emperor divide them from their life bars? And never mind Soul. They'll just look to break the base and maybe the game.
The wave is really far away, though. It's super far away, but they have so much time. I think this is the game, just like you're saying, initialized. They just end up diving the backside. I thought Samson might have bit off more than he could chew, diving in 1 versus 4, but Bendix saves the day, Supermaning in, getting that huge shuffle into the wall.
They still have no minion wave. They want to wait on it. Be 8 seconds on Chromax, but it's 20 seconds till anybody with wave clear.
It's over.
And that is a problem. It should just be over.
Running it down, going to hit the towers as the Nexus fall, and game 2 should go to jail. Not without picking off Chromax, though.
They do it with style. It was messy. It wasn't clean. It was 15 to 19,
yeah.
But Jlingz will move to series point. And Aragon, our predictions for this series are looking more and more foolish by the moment.
It might not be a 3-0 for Nativz. I'm starting to feel like it might be the complete opposite. I do think that they are getting a bit overconfident, right? Some of these plays, going for these 1v4s, the 2v5s, maybe tone it back, dial it down a little. Dem, I know you're the coach of this team. Tell them, bring them backstage, say, guys, just play the macro, secure pushing both sides, and secure the soul. You had it for free.
And there were moments in that game we thought, look, we liked the draft. We liked some of the plays going on here, and they just couldn't quite convert. And yes, we saw a bit of a scuffle around that tier 2 in topside, which looked like maybe it could have been an angle back in. But they could just never find the 5v5s they were looking for, despite what should have been a comp that was great at it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think they had some really good plays in the early game, and definitely we saw a lot more life from this draft out of Nativz. I do think that Jarvan was a bit overeager and fell behind really hard, right? You were level 5 and level 4 at the same time for the first dragon. As the support, you were the same level as him. And then you didn't have level 6 for the Baron, for the first Rift Herald. I think there's a little bit to be said there, but still a lot more life with this draft especially. A lot of dive and cohesiveness. I loved it.
Couple criticisms there on efficiency from my co-commentator, but you have to see whether Nativz, reigning NLC champions, will go down 0-3 to some play-in upstarts, or whether they can mount the reverse sweep comeback. It will all be decided here in the game coming up after the break. We'll see you in a few. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's the Initialize and Aragon podcast. No, it's not. It's the NLC quarterfinals here in the Aurora Cup Open Pro-Am 2023 and all the other epithets I could throw in there. What we also have to throw in there is the fact that Nativz are one game away from throwing in the towel, down 0-2 to a play-in team, and Demby is going to be sending out some very smug tweets to both of us at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, I didn't expect it. I mean, shout out to Dem, right? Like, he's pulling it off, winning drafts every single time, even though I thought Nativz won in the last one. Clearly, I was wrong. They managed to pull it off, and he's coached these players well.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And on the other side, Nativz are the reigning champions of the NLC. Yes, the roster is different. Yes, that's big shit, but this is still big name org with a lot of history behind them in the quarterfinals. But Jlingz, with the play-ins experience buff apparently coming on through, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable, both in terms of like the level of play and in terms of just some of the matchups as well. Like, we're seeing some, even in that last game where we had issues with like the overall theme of the comp for the side of Jlingz, we said, look, some of these individual matches, like the Lee Sin can do something nasty into this Jarvan. The Olaf should potentially be a bit scary, and it felt quite tough to play out these matchups for Nativz.
I completely agree with you. I think there's just getting outclassed individually, and in terms of some team play come the mid game, right? There were some good things we saw from Nativz, right? Where they had the three-man core moving around together and making plays and picks onto Bendix, but generally, I do think Samson is getting the better of Lundorf. I think Urban's getting the better of Jolbu. And even Bendix, to some extent, is getting better of Riley, right? Individually. And that's the core issue. There's no magical solution here. I do think that Lundorf especially has to step it up because he's just getting solo killed on repeat. And I think something else that has to be mentioned is, was Aatrox really your best bet here? Was this the pick into Olaf that you prepared? It's fearless mode. You need to dig deep and find counters. And I don't think this was the best answer.
And when we came into this series, you said part of the reason why you favored Nativz, and I was somewhat there with you, is we were saying, look, Fearless Draft, one of the things it tests is how good is your effective champion pool.
Yep.
Not just in terms of what you can play, but what can you play cohesively as a team. And honestly, Jlingz have had better options. They've had better answers. And I am now a little bit nervous for where Nativz are in terms of some of their champion picks. They've down a few key picks. That's the Kai'Sa and the Xayah down. That's the Alistar and the Rakan down. You've lost the Ola, the Nico, the Orianna, the Jarvan. Those are all huge picks.
I think it's incredibly interesting as well, because I feel like what I expected was to start off with, you know, we're in Worlds meta, and then we devolve into one tricks and
meta.
other fearless meta. But we didn't really even start with Worlds meta. We just have so much individual play. And I don't even know, I can't even think about where this would go, because my eyes are immediately on stuff like the Maokai I mentioned before, which hasn't even been touched, because surely that's going to come up, right? It hasn't been picked or banned once, and it's so damn impressive, stuff like the Maokai Jace. But again, champions like the Xayah or Rakan are open. Rel comes to mind, Alistar, you know, these kinds of OP picks. Rumble immediately off the table, though.
I think that is fair to shout out, because, you know, things like the Maokai are like, right up there is arguably the most banned champion right now. One of them is the World Championship, you know, and it's a champion that I think a lot of these junglers will know how to play. It's not like it's a new pick to the meta. It's been around for a while, and Maokai isn't the most challenging champion to get value out of. Like, you can do some more interesting things later in terms of where you put your saplings, etc., but like, it's not the most mechanically intensive champion to at least get value out of.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's just not been an option. It's been a bit weird. First pick now available for the side of Jlingz. They're hovering a Pyke. I doubt we get a first pick Pyke unless they really want to flex on him.
Yeah, absolutely. And when Samson is pinched this hard, he has champions banned like Rumble, and the picks are no longer available in terms of the carries he plays. He usually defaults back to tank, so I wouldn't be surprised to see something like an Ornn into the Renekton. Historically a decent matchup, and it's a Samson pick. I wouldn't be surprised to see as we see the picks come down. Now, what do you pick on the other side? Well, you can't deny the Xayah because you've already played it, so instead they're just going to counter pick with that Nautilus into the Rakan.
Fortunately, they did play it game one, so the Xayah is just off the table in general right now.
Gosh,
I believe
so
the graphics are currently getting updated, but we've got ourselves just a little bit of jank for a second or two until it's all sorted out there. But exactly, you're down the Xayah, the Sivir are not available. Of course, you have got everything else. You could go for the Kai'Sa yourself here. Kai'Sa Rakan, not awful. Could make that one work.
There it is.
Instead, they're saying, we see the Renekton. You called it out nice and early. You know this player well enough. You know what he likes to go for. The Ornn is the consideration right now. Not locked in, but certainly a fairly strong option.
Yeah, I mean, Jarvan's available for the side of Jlingz, they haven't played it yet, and it's an incredibly powerful pick. It links up well with that with that Rakan, and gives solid teamfight with the Ornn too. I wouldn't be surprised to see that taken away, but it's the Cassiopeia, Bendix Classic.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I think it's already locked in, so there you go. You've got Ornn, you've got Cassiopeia, Rakan. Your zone control is already phenomenal.
Yeah, I think typically what you see into Cassiopeia, the lanes that make it really horrible to play against are the control mages, right? I wouldn't be surprised to see the Syndra locked in. That's one of the go-tos. Anything that can control space and make it so horrible for Cassiopeia to even hit, there's no way that's locked in. That's a terrible matchup. It's going to be Syndra for sure.
I saw it and went, well, there are great ults to steal Silas, but I don't think that's a fun matchup.
Yeah, you can't play the game. You try to lane and you just die.
There is no antidote in the world for that. That's just you sitting there getting poisoned and feeling miserable. So the Syndra's locked in. You've got it paired up with the Nautilus. You've got good pick combo already alongside the Renekton as well. You get into those early skirmishes. I see exactly how that's supposed to function. Now, though, it looks like they're not going to try and pinch down on Rusty Sniper's pool. Instead, they're saying, look, let's take away some of these big-ticket junglers away from Urban. Jarvan off the board straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised. Bendix throwing down the gauntlet, blind picking Cassiopeia is not something you normally see. But maybe he's so confident because of these past two games that he doesn't think really can counterpick well enough. We'll have to see how that goes because that isn't a nice matchup for the Cassiopeia. Now, jungler's going to get pinched very heavily. The Jarvan going, which is what I said would be a very good combination with the champions. Now, other champions I'm looking at, you fall down the table. Viego always crops up. The Vi, again, is decent. Rel hasn't even been looked at this entire series, and I think that could be a great champ too.
Of course, Rel was taken as support in game one, so you can't lock up the jungle, so that's always the problem there. But again, it's a feeler. You're getting caught by the fearless thing. It happens again.
Yeah.
The Kai'Sa was the eventual ban there, but again, you would have said something, well, at the session, well, that's banned out. Maokai's still up and available, so you could lock that in, but I feel like Nativz surely just pick that and make it even harder. Cassiopeia does not enjoy that. It's not a bad option to things like the Rakan to make his life a bit more difficult as well.
I think you ban Ivan for the side of Jlingz, which indicates you want to go a tank like Maokai, right? Because Ivan's picked into these champions. But then you have a very low damage top side and your full AP top side. So I'm a bit concerned with what Jlingz are going to go for. Doesn't look like it's going to happen anyway. Nativz have picked it. Now, how do they answer into the Maokai? I'd like to see something like a Vi personally. You have a lot of single target that way and great team fight. And the Vi plus Cassiopeia is a great combination in general.
You could also potentially go for something like the Wukong. Wukong is always a bit of a obnoxious with the Rakan because you can E to the Wukong while he's invisible, which means Rakan can come from really weird angles. It's super busted. I hate that combo. Not that I'm a bit annoyed to see Wukong and Vi still in meta after all these months. I'll leave that one alone. Debating instead of Viego, which might allow a little bit more damage spread. Kalista and Ashe being currently hovered. Some zone control, some way to set up a bit more potency for the rest of your team, but a little lower on the damage front.
Yeah, I think Kalista is pretty impossible to play here. I won't lie, there's a lot of zone control and point and click where you just cannot move and hit, so I'd be surprised to see that, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Rusty Sniper because Ezreal is something he's known for, and it gives him a little more flexibility in how he fights because he doesn't just get locked down and killed. There's the Kalista. We've been hyping it up from Worlds, the most banned champion at Worlds right now because it's so good into the meta. We'll see if he picks it, but Varus could synergize with the poke from the Maokai saplings.
Might be a little bit more comfortable as well. I know Chris Perk's put a lot of games into Varus. It might just be one of those ones where, like, at this point, 0-2 down, get the comfort, feel a little bit safer as well. You want to be a little ways away from the likes of a Rakan and a Cassiopeia. If you get locked down on that, could get a bit sad. Instead, perhaps back to another old faithful in the Sivir themselves. They'll lock that down and try and speed up the likes of this Nautilus and Renekton to make their lives a bit easier.
Okay, so what we have for Nativz is a very standard front-to-back teamfight composition where you have a decent amount of range to outrange the Cassiopeia, right? But you also, on the other side, Jlingz, when you have a Viego, it's pretty obvious what you want to do. You want to kill first target and burst down the same target and secure the resets, right? And you have that a little bit, but you also have standard front-to-back teamfight as well. So it's a standard clash. I'm excited to see the dragon fights because positioning and just execution of the fights is everything.
It really does feel like that way. Like, both teams have got relatively solid engage. It's a bit pick heavier, I think, for Nativz. It's a little bit more damage heavy for the sides of Jlingz because, of course, you've got that discrepancy in the jungle role there. But as you said, like, if you go a little deep here on the Nautilus or on the Renekton and Viego claims your body and turns it right back around, maybe things get awkward. On the other hand, if you get late and you cannot get through all the CC, Sivir and Syndra hitting like 120 splinters on the Syndra, and Sivir hitting 3 items and just ricocheting through the team sounds pretty rough as well.
Yeah, and I suppose Nativz in a way, gosh, I've forgotten if it's Nativz. No, it's Nativz for sure. They took red side. They also have a lot of single target damage. So if they ever lock down one target, they can absolutely burst with that Renekton stun and the unleashed power from Syndra, as well as the root coming in from both Nautilus and Maokai. They absolutely do have a load of single target burst and CC. And if anyone's ever caught, right, that's why it's incredibly scary for the side of JL. If anyone's ever caught, they're just probably going to die, and that's a team fight 1.
It's a lot of burst.
Yeah.
And I also have to call it out here as well, more individual level. I think we both want to see a lot more out of Lundorf this game. We've got the Renekton into the Ornn matchup. Yes, it's an okay matchup for Ornn, but Lundorf has kind of been pretty stomped on, frankly, in the first 2 games. Kind of came back a bit on the Aatrox, but not before getting solo killed, not before losing a fair amount of that early lane pressure, and that made things a bit dicey around that Herald. For all that they won that fight, it certainly wasn't clean. I need to see a little bit more out of this guy.
I wouldn't be surprised to see some early game towards the top side with the Prio, but generally with that Viego into the Maokai. Maokai's a relatively slow clearer. You maybe look for a 3 camp into evade. You look for something like this to interrupt the first clear of the Maokai. That's where my eyes will be onto Jolbu with this Viego potential. Definitely. And then as the game goes on, it's just going to be standard, I think. You have Renekton, so you pretty much know who's going to get the Rift Herald, but from then on, it's a slugfest for team fights.
It is, and I think then it will be coming down to things like who's got vision control and priority before dragons, because a Maokai that has vision control has been able to like lay the minefield down, or an Ornn that's already in river and getting to throw out Call of the Forge Gods from blind feels a lot scarier if you have got that kind of control that you are playing from that kind of positional advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And then early Rift Heralds, you do have 2 AD carries in the Sivir and the Ezreal who can kind of just sit down bot side and farm whilst the supports go and do whatever they want, right? They can soak mid for level 6 and then go roam and secure it as well. As we see, we load in. Now will they find Rusty Sniper?
The question, of course, EU Ezreal has been a little bit of a meme of late. It's been an unfortunate champion for the European representatives at Worlds, getting a little bit underwhelming, I think, is probably the way to phrase it at that international championship. And we'll see whether Rusty Sniper can live to his name and be hitting a few more of those mystic shots. Yeah,
I think the idea with the Ezreal that we've seen at the World Championship is you pick it into Xayah and you outrange the Xayah, and, you know, classic counter to Xayah's outranging and poke because she hasn't got that much range herself, but it just hasn't worked out, right? You end up running out of damage, you can't kill the tanks, and so on, and it must be doing well in scrims or something because it's just falling off the face of the earth after failing so hard.
And I think it's also one of those ones where, like, there is that phrase from Ezreal that is, it's all skill. That's one of his voice lines, because every single ability is a skill shot. And just at the highest level, it's harder to land those skill shots. Speaking of, not going to quite land that there, as Chromax did look for the dredge line, and we'll be left with just a standard 2v2 as it stands. Both junglers starting solo on individual camps and not buffs, but they'll both be starting on the top side of the map, so eyes on bot lane in about 2 minutes or so.
Yeah, no wards coming down in either enemy jungle, so clear's not too given away. Solo start, like you said. Nativ's a little bit scared to commit to an all-in there, despite having Lethal Temper, because Rusty Sniper does have that heal for potential, you know, combat summoner traders. Crow gets chunked. I'm looking for some hard engage.
Ooh. There you have it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for, because you blow the summoners, then you make the ganks easier, right? Chromax has no flash now. You can potentially gank as the Maokai, or the other way around, you can gank as the Viego onto the Nautilus. Still, regardless, Prio in the bot side coming down for JL.
Relay and Bendix trading out so far. Relay coming out just slightly ahead. Too much more to be said. It's the Conqueror option for the Cassiopeia, but I don't think that's too much of a surprise. And first strike for the Syndra. Trying to abuse that range advantage best they can. Yeah,
absolutely. And you can see the trades coming out pretty normal. Ward's coming out in the bot side jungle against Nativz. I think Jolbu knows that he could potentially get invaded here against that mid lane priority from the side of Rusty Sniper and Crow. So, wouldn't be surprised to see Viego do something here, but he gets spotted on a ward, maybe decides against it.
Yeah, was kind of wondering whether there might be an angle. Can't quite find it. Does have the priority in bot lane, which of course is pretty valuable. Of course, in trade, Relay is the one with the early shove here in the mid lane as well.
Chromax, he's dead.
Chromax is in a lot of danger. Takes so much damage. They're trying to body block the Mystic shots, and they can't quite get the damage on through. But Chrisberg gets chunked out as well, and Chromax now in a very precarious position.
That was dicey. He's very low now. I wonder if Viego will look for something. Urban might look for something down in the bot side, but Jilbu's there to shadow if anything happens. Regardless, that's a crab going over to the Viego.
Yeah, it feels nearly unmatchable now. There's got to be no way to stop that. Yes, crabs are less valuable, but it's still a nice start. When you are on something like that Viego, any advantage you can start to snowball with feels very good. Instead, we look for the invade.
Oh, he's dead.
Jolbo! Not quite! Not quite, but the flash is down.
Oh, this is rough. This is exactly
so close.
what I tried to say that you need to do into the Maokai, especially the Viego. Viego can 3-camp into most junglers in the current meta, you know, stuff like the Rel, the Maokai, because they clear relatively slowly. You invade and you find the plays with this double ranged prio in the bot side, and they do exactly that.
Chrisberg in danger. Flash and ghost down.
I think it's just Rusty Sniper and Crow. They're just getting the better of them. Chromax had questionable hook level 1, but still really impressive stuff, turning into a double Scuttle Crab, and Urban must be loving his life right now. He's got solid lanes to play around.
It feels so nice, especially when you're on this Viego as well. Like,
yeah,
Maokai's not going to fight me. This is miserable for him. And instead, you end up with this. Chromax has finally got the reset off, but it came at cost, right? Not too much of a CS discrepancy right now, but the summoner advantage is huge.
Yeah.
Least now got a little bit more HP to work with, and Chromax with some boots can maybe start to trade something here. That's a big trade on a Rusty. Will get the Guardian Shield, needed it. Does want to try and hold on to the heal. And can start to turn this one around. It can all be a bait. Needs to be careful. There's the heal.
Nothing coming down. Jolbu, in the meantime, actually looked for a mid lane gank there, but because of that lack of flash from the invade early, he had to pop it. He couldn't find it onto Bendik, so he just had to waddle his way over to the Krug, sadly. Nativz trying to fight back there. Jail trying the bot lane, trying to bait in a fight, using those summoners and going to pop them in the last second, but he had to, otherwise he died to the boomerang. Just a lot of action across the board.
And I appreciate the fact that Chromax says, look, we've got to get something back here. It's doomed if they get to back for free. So, like, I'm going to face check and try and get at least something back. And, you know, they forced the heal, and the mana wasn't great there. And it does probably mean that Rusty will be forced to back, perhaps a little earlier than was initially hoped for, but goes back, has got himself a refillable, and the Tear, and the Sheen. That is a pretty dream first back as an Ezreal.
Absolutely. Now, everyone's resetting. Mid lane and bot lane will end up going bot side now as the clear is completing for Viego, so they might be able to start a dragon up here because of that push that they will have being stronger. Lundorf being a little bit cheeky with the plates, kiting around until he gets it. Samsung might have an ult soon if this cannon dies, but not going to be an ult for ult trade.
Oh, missed the cannon. It's all over.
Don't. It hurts.
So where's the LCK observers who zoom in on every cannon missed?
There was one game.
In particular has
that was it.
Brutalized.
And the casters kept saying, you know, he doesn't care. That's it. Absolutely love it. But there's the dragon.
Every top laner cares. If you miss cannon, that's pain in your heart.
You wince a little, definitely, every single time. But not going to stop Samsung. Giga Chad on this Ornn, going to win lane anyway, even in CS. So that early lane potency of the Renekton not going to matter. And despite everything, they're going to secure Dragon for the side of jail.
Yeah, it's always a little bit sad when Ornn gets to come out of lane, even in CS, has got a Bramble vest and actually forced the ultimate back.
Okay.
Won't go for the re-hit on that one. I wonder whether he was a bit afraid about diving forwards into the range of Lundorf there.
I think not wanting to dash forward with that R, thinking he might get traded on a little bit too hard and decides it's not worth it. Still, a lot of control coming down. Samsung is chunked and he is without any cookies, so he might be trapped in lane here for a little bit and eventually have to recall on a bad wave, and eventually that might turn into a plate for Lundorf. Still, I like it. It's a lot better of a showing from Lundorf. I think you've got to agree, right? Before, in the previous games, he was getting solo killed left, right, and center.
And actually, and literally, as we were speaking about it, actually, there was the wave that evened it up, and it does mean that Lundorf is ahead now in that CS, and instead, Bendix needs to be just a touch wary there, as Jolbu was wrapping around on Fission, but instead just puts down a ward or two, make Urban's life a little bit harder to find ingress into lanes.
But we are at 7 minutes 30. That Rift Herald is spawning soon. Samsung really needs a reset if they want to be able to contest this. Otherwise, it's just going to automatically go over to the side of Nativz. And I think it just might do that with Chromax roaming up too.
I wonder whether Urban goes on up and helps Samsung get a bit of a shove out. But actually, with Lundorf going for the reset, gets to come back with the Iron Spike Whip and say, Chrisberg's in danger. The Ignite is down. Good spell shield, though, means the Grand Entrance won't find quite what they were looking for.
Yeah. Good trade coming in, because that chunks Chrisberg, and that makes Chromax double back, potentially scared that Chrisberg might get dove. And now you can see he's waddling back and forth, not sure if his AD carry is going to get dove, and he has to shadow just in case. So no Nautilus for this Rift Herald fight because of that good trade coming in for the side of Crow and Rusty Sniper.
Does have, though, that Lundorf gets to teleport back to lane. claim another couple plates because it was not the best back from Samson. And you're feeling a lot happier about that lane suddenly. Up the CS, up the plates, and playing that matchup out as prophesized.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was saying, right? You were in such bad condition for the top and the mid laner that you had to take a reset and pull waves. That means you lose control of this Rift Herald. And if you didn't reset, you get trapped there and you can never even contest the Rift Herald. So taking resets, dropping a couple plates for it, will they secure this Herald now, or will they just opt to cross map? Honestly, there's nothing to even do. They can't dive bot side. There's no camps to steal because of their positioning.
Instead, look, they've already claimed an early dragon very early onto this game. It's a couple minutes until the next one on that front. So you've got that stacking in your favor. And look at Urban, continue to farm ahead. Is feeling pretty happy on this Viego. Like, fighting this Herald is a way to start losing this game. Right now, it's even enough in gold. You're fine with that. Just need to make sure this Herald doesn't snowball into too much problem. I
mean, like, to be honest, these topside matchups, you kind of would expect the Rift Herald to go the side of Nativz, because just the Renekton and the Syndra are such good matchups. Or just strength of champion rather than now. Urban deciding, we're going to do something. Maybe Chrisberg will try and push. Maybe Rusty Sniper holds the wave here and forces Chrisberg to walk forward. They could freeze this and potentially look for a play.
Try and hold it, yeah.
You see, Chrisberg is walking forward now because of it. Look at Urban. He's sneaking around. Oh, they pinged it. They spotted him.
They just pinged him. He knows.
It was a nice idea.
He knows. Couldn't quite make it happen. With that ward in the lane, they kind of had an idea about where Chrisberg was standing, even past the wave, but couldn't quite make that one work, and that does give a little bit of license for the rest of the map. But actually, honestly, with Jilbu and Chromax both on a reset, not too much to be found on the map right now, so they go towards the mid lane, but they're hatching another ward.
Yeah. Ooh. The Splinters. Free Splinters, thank you.
First strike.
Yoink.
Samson's desperately low.
Incredibly
There's a flash
low.
available here. Can make this happen. Flashes forward himself. Turret shot comes on through. Can't quite make it happen. But now with some of the healing is actually in an okay position. We'll get to clear out this wave and Lundorf will just back on over this, surely. Urban is here. Now Lundorf, perhaps in a touch of bother. Still has that blast cone though, so easy enough to escape.
That was really nice from Sanson. What he did was he walked forward and took aggro from the Dominus. And that way, Lundorf took a bunch of damage as well as taking, the W from, what was it, Bellow's Breath from Samson?
Indeed.
Yeah. And that way he just stops the dive. Otherwise, he was actually potentially dead there. That was under threshold for burst from Lundorf. So really nice play coming from Samson, showing again the individual prowess in this series.
Managing that matchup well. It looked pretty scary for a moment there, but Lundorf does hold on to the flash. So that's another incremental advantage to work with, but we'll need another go at it to try and punish again. Still, gets to back on out without burning anything but an ultimate, and came at the cost of Samson's ultimate and flash, so still a positive trade for the Renekton, just not the kill that could have been.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he still has 3 plates in isolation. The man is doing incredibly well in this matchup, using that Demolish, converting his lane lead into gold. I'd love to see his solo gold lead if the Observers can toggle that, as we also enter the Dragon state.
Going to be able to quite look at that as yet. We'll hold on to that for a moment, especially with Dragon 2 numbering 3. Thank you very much, production. There you go. It is a hefty lead in the top side, about 1,000 gold individually, and about to watch the mid lane gold lead expand a little as well as the Herald is summoned.
Yeah. Herald coming down right as Dragon spawns, bringing a lot of attention in the mid lane, but because of this, you're able to move first into the river. You could see Rusty Sniper's getting pushed out. Now Nativz use that Herald to secure river control, and probably the Dragon. It's going to be incredibly hard to face check this if you're JL.
Check in the river as well as Lundorf is roaming on down. Samson does have teleport, but is following. It will be a little late. Dragon started, and Renekton in the mid lane looking to pinch on it.
The burst.
There's the teleport. Big burst! And of course the miasma as well means the crocodile claims one. And that is an insane Nature's Grasp. Nothing to be done as Maokai holds them all in place. Petrifying gaze onto 3 though. Meeting they turn that around. Now the bodies begin to be stolen. Lundorf caught in the mid lane. Can't make as much happen as they want. Urban will have to hook away. Now they come out with a call of the Forge God, but not that much to be found as Urban. Continue to try and find something. Bendix into the backside, doing their best. Rusty Sniper gets called by Lundorf, who's desperately low. Finally goes down, and Urban, now with a reset again available on the ultimate, goes hopping on forwards. Heartbreaker, not enough to claim one as Jubal will slow down, stunned in place. Urban gets another one, and this jungler will punish oh so hard.
And everything is committed to killing Crow. We talked about that initial burst damage for single target pick potential, but then Bendix. It's all Bendix and Urban managing to clean up because all the tools are used, and he's left a free hit. Twin Fang after Twin Fang, turning into Viego resets, and just phenomenal turnaround from JL.
I genuinely thought Lundorf was about to murder 3 people at the back end of that fight. Gets stunned up, has his body stolen, and Urban cracks his neck and starts chasing after people with his snake friend in the mid lane, and just nothing to be done.
I was ready to say that play, that whole sequence of events from Nativz was clinical, right? Placing Herald in the mid lane to secure river control because you can move first, into turning and bursting the one target who's face checking. But then they lost, right? I couldn't say it anymore because they managed to turn it around with that Cassiopeia. Bendix, highlight player right there, showing his comfort on a pick that he's played for so many years.
And again, Urban, after a really good Lee Sin game, once again turns up to in-game on a champion that you asked to carry on, gets the individual lead, turns it into a team fight, is coming back onto the map with a Kraken Slayer. He's going for that more aggressive build, and I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. A Kraken Slayer into Black Cleaver, I think is the combo that people typically go. It might be a Triforce as well. The Black Cleaver idea is to shred for the physical damage of the Kraken, but it's probably just going to be a Triforce so you don't delay your Mythic too much.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Now, mid lane prior for Nativz into a Rift Herald spawn. Once again, they're the first ones in the river with the saplings placed down. You can see one in that bush right there, and Crow, he's got to be scared because he's still very much burstable. That single target damage is enough as they called blue buff to their own jungle.
Syndra does Syndra things. That is mine now. It's always really funny when you sort of see like Ivan or Annie into Syndra because you know
that's rough.
Syndra goes, no, this is my toy now.
Yoink. Yeah, you see, this is the power of the Maokai. This is why I absolutely love Maokai. And we haven't seen a Maokai Jace once today, which is kind of surprising as an ult comes down.
Oh, and actually that's a lot of burst onto Chrisberg. Has to burn the flash in the ultimate to get out of range of that Heartbreak.
Yeah, and now they've got to
Fortunately
get
for them,
out of
it's
there.
not Valentine's Day and gets to stay alive.
Oh, I thought they'd get out of there, but now they're going to start it regardless. Maybe JL don't want to contest because they burnt so many of the cooldowns.
Oh, Crow goes on with the quickness. I'm not quite sure how much value there. Just out of range, I guess, for Lundorf, who buffers through it with a W and a Q.
Maybe looking for a chunk to potentially be able to move into the Rift Herald, but you never kill the Renekton there. He's too huge with those Merc Treads and the Gore Drinker. You just heal up way too much, so they were going to go for the chunk. Still questionable choice. Regardless, going to have to defend this mid lane turret. Chromax is zoning out Rusty Sniper, so he can't defend this. They might just get the turret off of this.
Gonna try and get it. I think it's got to be relatively doable. The problem is they don't know where anybody else is on the map.
Yeah.
So they have to kind of stay away from that one. I think looking at the map, they would have been fine to go for it, but they decide against it. And
look at the pings.
Really?
Urban, they know Urban's there, and they're going to look for a pick on him. Not going to have the damage, but again.
It's not going to get the Gromp. It's going to reset. Actually, now Chromax will have to Hex Flash over, and they're being zoned off this turret because I feel like Bendix and Urban are pretty scary. That is a jungler at mid lane, sort of like level-wise. He's matching levels there at the level 11 mark, so very, very scary right now on the Viego.
Yeah, Jolbu has not had a great time. Honestly, he's lost so many camps to Urban and the Priory he's had in his lanes, as well as just being a relatively slow clear on the Maokai. That it's pretty miserable. Fortunately, Maokai, as we all know, doesn't need that much gold to function. Chrisberg, no flash from that play earlier. Had to blow it. So, potentially get picked as Bendix.
Turret's down. Bendix goes for the Petrifying Gaze. Can't quite make it land as well as they want to. Will get rooted up. Bendix desperately low. Overcomes Chromax trying to get something. Flash for the Dreadslide. Will surely secure the kill. It's a shutdown coming on through. But now Urban trying to get one onto really can't make it happen. Now he's stunned up. Gets into that blind base, desperately trying to stay alive. The Dreadslide is nowhere there as he gets the reset. Steals the body. Into the scan of the week. Urban finally falls, but not without claiming a few souls. Oh, bow down to your king.
It was so close. He lives on 1 HP and he finds the reset onto really Syndra. I thought that was the big throw that Nativz needed, but Urban manages to find the play. Insane stuff.
Oh, what a monster performance right now. The Viego, yes, gets shut down, but unfortunately on the other side, it's Chromax who picks the shutdown up on the Cassiopeia. At least Chrisberg gets this one, but now has to pop the ultimate. No flash. I don't think they have the ultimate, the spell shield either. Finally use it. It's too little, too late. Chrisberg on the wrong end of a venomous snake.
Getting picked off again. Honestly, taking a lot of attention from the side of JL. Keeps getting his flash pop, keeps getting run down and ganked. Not the best showing from Crispberg this game. Much better one last one, but still, it's really brutal to deal with. But I just want to highlight something. That play, despite Nativz losing, really deserves a shout-out for turning around against the Cassiopeia ult. I always love to see that, because I just can't do it. I'm too old for that. It's so impressive.
My hands!
No, exactly. No, it's not possible. But still.
We say that, and then we're looking at like other esports which are really Twitch reliant, like
Oh yeah, true. I don't know why I said
games.
that.
Look at fighting games, like
and CS:GO.
Right,
yeah.
like Daigo and Smash is just like this monster fighting game guy. He's like in his 30s and 40s now. Like
who's that player in CS:GO? Pasha Biceps, and he's like 30 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no excuses. I'm just bad, I guess. Thanks for calling me out.
Is Forrest, the old NIP player from CS:GO, is now an Apex player?
Oh gosh, I don't remember off the top of my head. But a lot of the CS:GO players are generally older. Production
comes in and goes, yes. So there you go. One of the OG goats of CS:GO. On that insane NIP run. Now at Apex, bro. The world ever changes, guys.
Yeah. But Rift Turtle coming in top side. What are they going to use this for? Maybe it was on cool timer, because it's a pretty peculiar one. You could have saved it for the dragon, but I wonder if we're going to see a 12 out of 12 dragons going to jail. No, wait. Nativz got one last game, right? Yeah, it was one last game for a Baron.
Still like a discrepancy.
It's the control.
The other thing is you're looking at this one, and just look at the jungle discrepancy. I wonder whether we're going to see a Flame Horizon there at some point in this game. Like this Viego is just steamrolling the farm right now. He's just behind his AD carry right now.
Yeah.
Like that is insane.
Yeah, absolutely. We highlighted it, right? Like, Viego can do these things into the meta junglers. He can invade, he can steal camps, and that's exactly what he did. Of course, it helps to have winning lanes and Rusty Sniper as well as Crow playing the lanes out so phenomenally every single game, giving him leeway to be able to do this. So, honestly, eventually we're going to have to talk about it, but the MVPs of the series so far, I'm kind of looking at Rusty a little bit.
I feel like Rusty, I feel like Urban's put their
Samson
name up.
as well.
Samson, of course, games 1 and 2. Samson was absolutely incredible, I think. Particularly in that game 1, I think those would be the 3 leading causes of death for Nativz right now.
Yep.
Of course, it's not quite done yet. They might be resuscitated yet. This game is still playable. The gold lead's not out of reach. And of course, you've got a Syndra, you've got a Sivir. Both 2 champions scale pretty well. You've got the Maokai to provide yourself excellent setup around objectives.
But
you do need to be afraid, though, because 3 minutes time, Infernal Drake is spawning. If you lose that, your chances get vanishingly small.
I mean, exactly. They need to do a repeat. Oh my gosh, it's the EU special. It's the Baron start on 3 dragons. They're doing it.
Wait, hang on, where's Julbu? He's finally coming on over. It's just too low.
It's gone.
It's down to 4 HP.
Lundorf has to go.
They're just shredding it. He's got to get here now. He's got to get in now. Can't get there. Will not make it happen. Instead, they lose a member and the Baron, and the fight can now begin to continue. Lundorf disappears into a grand entrance.
Oh, it's a massacre.
A triple kill for Rusty Sniper. How much further are we going? They're trying to feed him
over.
The quadra kill is in. He ain't Rusty. He's giving him all tetanus. It's a Geneva Convention moment, that's for sure. The bayonet is Rusty, and the poison secures the final kill. Zoom on in on it. That is the stealer of pentakills. Rusty Sniper thwarted in the final moments by the passive of Cassiopeia.
There's so much damage coming in from JL, deciding, we've got a Cassiopeia. So much single target damage. We can burn this Baron instantly. And that's what they do. They just randomly start it with that Cassiopeia on 2 items and say, we also got an Ezreal on 2 items. We can burst this. They absolutely do that. And they take the fight and... God damn it. Bendix!
How could you? I think it was the passive, in fairness. I think it was the passive poison.
It was the poison. Yeah.
At that point, you just have to say, Rusty, why didn't you wait half a second to make sure your auto killed him?
I think the E went flying, but it was just a tick too late.
Disappointing. Well, either way, here we are. Bendix kill securing there as Lundorf slices away, but I wonder how low his dice are rolling right now. Needs to be a bit afraid. Grand entrance comes on down to the miasma. Petrifying Gave just about away from, but in comes the quickness, and now Lundorf gets absolutely drained of vitality. Twin Fang after Twin Fang, ensuring a very dead Cassiopeia Samson.
Yeah.
Looking to interrupt some packs.
That's just a pain. Yeah, he's just a pain. That was a nice attempt from Lundorf. Obviously a better play by the side of JL, but a nice attempt at Lundorf double dashing away, walking into the miasma. But still, the power of their quickness, the lockdown, and the single target burst from a fed Bendix, I think that's going to be Infernal Soul now, going over.
Oh, really?
Really?
The night is dark and full of ruined kings into an immediate ultimate. He's down to 3rd HP. He stopwatches. They're giving it over to Rusty Sniper.
Ooh.
Alas, nice Syndra, we knew thee well.
Yeah, the overextension tries to secures an objective bounty at least, but Chromax gets in there. Oh, Samsung, he's unkillable.
He's trying. Oh, he does have the ultimate dispersed. Won't quite make it happen. And the Forge God feeling a little bit sheepish there, not quite Ram-like this time around, and Urban just debating going for a little bit more. The knock up on the destroyed tower. Samson taken low but not out. A Rusty Sniper's turned up, forcing multiple flashes. Julbu on the wrong end of a Spectral Maw as Urban continues to chase. Rusty Sniper debating going on into the base. Everyone just about alive. Shot Barrage. He's living up to his namesake.
They're just feeling themselves, aren't they? They absolutely do. The 1.5k heal from the Gore Drinker on Lundorf isn't enough. He gets burned down afterwards, and the snipe comes down in from Rusty Sniper. I think they just got to wrap it up now, don't they? They just got to crack the base, get the Infernal Soul, and with that poke from Rusty Sniper on this Ezreal, it's going to be incredibly hard to deal with.
3 items, Muramana transformation, Trinity fusion upgrade. This Ezreal is pretty damn monstrous.
Yeah. I would not want to be the Renekton in this game, I've got to tell you that much. It is not pretty, and I think we got to go back to where this all fell apart, and is just that dragon fight. I still don't know how that fell apart so bad.
Inches. I mean, like, the fact that Rusty Sniper didn't quite go down, and then Urban gets a body to steal. He gets the Renekton to steal. It gets very tricky suddenly, and they didn't quite have the consistent damage, and Bendix and Urban just about did. This might be a moment, Rusty Sniper. Rooted up, but they don't quite commit that hard. I wonder whether that might have been a moment. Unfortunately, of course, they're down the Infernal Soul at this point, and Rusty Sniper might well have been in position there to really punish. Oh.
Yeah, Crispberg.
I think it's more like Iceberg this game, because he is melting.
Yeah. I mean, they're long chasing. Take a look. Oh, no, they decided, you know what, we're not going to do this.
Lundorf?
Say that. Lundorf? He can't do this. He's dead.
Lundorf. I think the Renekton death noises speak for themselves.
That is brutal. I think they're just going to... They could end, by the way. They have a cannon.
I think so. Lundorf went looking, and he found what he was looking for, which was a very swift and painful death.
The wave clear might be a little bit too much with that Syndra throwing the cannon away and the severe ricochets.
I don't know whether it's going to matter when you can just kill the people clearing the waves. Crow
they don't care.
Straight, finds a kill. They just do not give a single damn. Nativz are down. Nativz, the reigning champions, are down. It's to a players teams and Jlingz. Provers also very wrong. 3-0 to the semi-finals they go.
What happened there? My prediction has never been so wrong.
We've been mudded. Like it. There is a lot of mud on our face.
You know, I apologize. Dem. You know what? Your team, it pulled it off, and I'm so sorry for predicting a 3-0 for the side of Nativz.
I went for 3-1, and I don't feel much better about that. That was.
No, but a 3-0 screams confidence, right? You're like, this team is better for sure.
Yeah. I mean, exactly that. I mean, like, there's only so much you can say about that. I think we have to give serious credit, though, because I think it felt like a team that was just individually better, but then also in a macro sense was playing the game a lot more consistently and feeling a lot happier about it. And then you kind of hit this point where, like, okay, we liked a lot of these drafts. We liked a lot of the individual play. They've just taken down the NLC champions. How exactly far are Jlingz going this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I could see them definitely going far. That was incredible, and potentially next week. What was the matchup? Or was it tomorrow? Verdant versus Ruddy. I could see them taking a game at least. Right, they were convincing, especially in terms of the individual Micah from Rusty, Samson, and Bendix. I just thought they were great.
Of course, it'd be interesting. So I look at the Verdant roster and I go like, FGG's a guy I know and re-rate. Rel's in meta. Excellent news. Snille and Errol are strong players. Nille, no slouch themselves. You're going, okay, that should be pretty good. Ruddy, I think, always come up with rosters that should be exciting. Cronan's a lot of fun. Shihan, again, someone you've got to be pretty excited for. And you go, okay, they should be in a position here to have a fun series there, but I think they are going to have to look now at the semi-finals and go, that's not going to be a free matchup. And Jlingz have come in feeling confident, feeling consistent, frankly. That's 3. With the exception of game 2 getting a little bit back and forth at points, felt pretty commanding.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only thing they have to look at is when they're ahead, okay, you can close this game out a little bit cleaner. You can keep lanes push and secure the wins through Dragon. I think there was times, especially in the second game, where they overreached a little bit off a little bit more than they could chew, right? Especially when, for example, Samson went for the 1 versus 4, I believe, down the buy side, only to get bailed out by a TP, as well as in the Baron siege, not playing with the Baron, but rather getting, trying to dive the Aatrox under tier 2. I think if they clean that up, then they're definitely in for a good series next week, or next series.
Yeah, it'll be something to keep our eyes on. I think for now, you have to celebrate. You took down Nativz in commanding fashion. You did it in style, and that's pretty damn good. In fact, with that in mind, let's see if we can bring up the bracket and see what it's looking like since we're talking about it. There should be some pretty exciting things to look at here with what we're setting up for. This was supposed to be the harder side of the bracket. Jlingz, poor souls that get drawn into it, and perhaps they were the people they should have been afraid of all along.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it made sense, right? Like, you were against Lundorf, you were against really EMEA Masters play-ins almost making to main stage really, really solid players. I've played against Lundorf personally in solo queue, and he clapped me, right? I know how mechanically gifted he is. I think I played Renekton into his Rumble, and I just couldn't even match up, right? I know he's phenomenal, but Samson showing up, absolutely showing up, and I want to shout credit to him. He's my MVP vote for the entire series. I think he performed and outperformed Lundorf every single game, and spread his lead really well. My mind goes back to the first game where he waddled down to Dragon and then TP back topside and won the game for his team.
I think, there's a couple other shout-outs. I think Rusty Sniper consistently had very, very good series, 8-0 or whatever it was on the Zyre in the first game. The Cive was good in game 2. Another very good performance on the Ezreal in game 3, nearly at the Penta. Got it stolen away. I think there's another matchup in terms of just consistently doing what you ask of as an AD carry in the current meta, which is be a scary damage threat. And I think then perhaps the dark horse would be someone like Urban, who had a really clean Lee Sin game, with the exception of that one pick against them. And then that Viego was just nasty. That was not okay.
Yeah, that last play down in bot side where he secured the reset on 1 HP, I really thought Nativz. I was like, is there going to be a reverse sweep? Is this the moment where they turn it all around? But 1 HP, man. Viego, you can never count him out.
The answer was, of course, no. I'm just going to double check again. I think this time we've actually got graphics ready. I called it a little bit earlier. Sorry about that. I got baited. It was my bad. I think we're about there, so we might be able to look into some of these the bracket for what should be coming up, because I think we are now coming into what will eventually be our final 4 teams. There's still, of course, the final quarterfinals play tomorrow, which will be, as we said, Ruddy versus Verdant. But the final 4 teams, I don't think are necessarily what people were expecting entirely. It's 2 play-in teams. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, Fourth Wall, I predicted that one at least, but I didn't expect Lazy. They managed to beat out DMG, which was unexpected. Something that's striking me right now is we've seen no series go to 5 games. None of them have really been close series in a way. And I just want to see, at least in the finals or semifinals somewhere, have a close series. I want to get to that blind pick, because tell me about it.
Yes.
What happened in blind pick and LDL? You've been casting it the entire year.
That's just it. I don't think LDL had blind pick for game 5. It was just standard draft. So I think that's actually an addition for us, which is really cool, and I really like it. I think it means that you do get to that game 5 where I believe all the bans hold true. So if you've played it before, you still can't play it. So it's not like you get blind pick, carte blanche, and you don't just champions.
Pick the best possible comp.
Yeah, so it's the best possible comp from the remaining champions. So if you've played it already in the series, it's still off the table. But it does add that extra bit of spice, and I do think that will make those game 5s, should we get there, and I am praying we get at least one. I know Jake is right there with me saying, please give me a game 5. That should be very, very exciting to watch. And maybe now they're into semifinals after 2 dominant series pretty much across the board, that we should be getting some closer matchups.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Veteran Ruddy, at the very least, you look at these names, you say this has got to be close, right? Yeah. Judging from the past 2 splits, I know it's different rosters, but these teams, they always perform incredibly well, and Yeah, I think we also have the predictions. If I'm right, production, can we bring
do.
them up? I want to see how badly.
I don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at it. Oh boy, this is gonna suck.
From the casters.
But they're giving us a moment here to brace ourselves for the inevitable pain.
Oh.
Drum roll.
Drum
One
roll.
day out there, the prediction
Nothing?
will be there. I believe in it. I don't know. I've seen them in the Discord.
I've seen them in Discord, and it's catching my eye a little bit. There it is.
There we go. Look at that. So basically, Middlecott is right, as is Duckling, and
how
that
did
makes
they
me
do it?
angry.
Yeah.
That makes me very angry, actually. Look at that smug grin on Middlecott's picture there.
Every
What
time.
he's done. I hate it. Hate it.
Every single time, and Duckling's just proud. Like 3-0, man. 3-0 for Jlingz. You're betting against a team that's gone through play-ins isn't one who has, been a staple to the league, as well as has EME Masters players. It's crazy prediction. Well done, Middlecott and Duckling, I guess.
I think perhaps what we kind of undersold a little bit was the power of time together on this patch in this format, and they have come all the way through play-ins, and they're not exactly slouches.
That's
of
true.
Players themselves.
A lot of practice.
And just because they were unknown doesn't make them bad per se. And I think that's always one of those things which can catch out many a caster, and understandably so. But they come on in, they found themselves a solid victory, and they make us look a little bit silly.
Yeah, absolutely. I concede I was wrong, and I think you raised a really interesting point, because it's the same thing as in Worlds. I swear, teams that go through play-ins and end up in groups end up better than other teams from their region, because they've had so much more practice, right? You see it often with teams like C9, and I think BDS was another example, even though they just got knocked out. But MVP, I believe, MVP of the series graphic is ready too, so we'd love to see it. There it is.
Exactly. There we go. And I think those are the rightful options. You've got Samson, in particular, those games 1 and 2, phenomenal. Urban, the Lee Sin, the Viego, exceptional. And then, of course, Rusty Sniper was just very good throughout. So I think you've got a fairly solid selection there to choose from.
Yeah. I think my vote personally goes to Samson. I think it's incredibly hard in multiple different matchups when champion pools gets gradually more and more pinched to come out on top that hard every single time. It's just been really impressive to me. Right, absolutely. I think shout out commiserations to Bendix, or I think he absolutely smurfed in the last game too.
Yeah, he did. And there's only so much you can do, but so many people you can put on here. I think for me, I might go for Rusty Sniper because of just the consistency of performance across the entire series. If it was individual games, like Samson's getting the game 1 MVP. You're looking at game 3, it's Urban getting the game 3 MVP. But I think across the series, Rusty Sniper was just multiple multi-kills, doing lots of damage, winning his lanes consistently with Crow. You can't ask for much more from an AD carry, especially considering just the level across the series.
Absolutely. I think we have the interview with Rusty Sniper ready, though.
Oh, we have just got note from that as well. So we've got Rusty Sniper, one of our potential MVP candidates, here and dressed to impress.
Yo, what's up, bro?
All right. We're going no further until we ask about the outfit, because what is going on?
Easter?
So, I can do an outfit check. I don't know why I'm sitting in the dark. Here we go.
Let's go.
Okay.
Oh,
So this is me,
beautiful.
right? I'm a rat, right? That's what I am. I'm a little rat. I go around. Yeah, that's kind of me. That's my thing,
So where was the Twitch?
Where's the Twitch? So the thing is, it's we had to R5 jungle. It's I know, it's boring, but
So it's
just let
Urban's
me
fault.
R5 so I can get the Twitch. Yeah, I have a lot of fun picks that I can play, but I'm not getting to show them, But it's fine.
Okay, we'll do the last painful point here as well, because it was really important. I mean, I am so sorry for your loss. That pentakill was yours. What happened? Has Bendix apologized? Well, what do we need to do?
Yeah, so I might have threatened him in game, right? But that's all jokes. That's all jokes, okay? I won't visit him tonight, and we're just friends, okay? Bendix?
Was it the kind of insult where you say in game after? Is that what you did?
No, I didn't actually. I think the
No
sort
qualifications, just violence.
yeah, I might get fined after what I said, but it's okay.
Look, they stole the pentakill from you. I can understand the frustration. Glad to see the internal team drama didn't spill out too hard there. Let's take a moment then to talk about the series as a whole, because I think coming into this, myself, Aragon, both had a little bit more faith in Nativz to turn up. And frankly, you guys just came in and wrecked them 3 games in a row. What were your expectations coming into the series? Were you expecting it to be a 3-0 in your favor like this?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Middlecott and Duckling, right? Like, if you guys were also following my Twitter, you would have seen me like post that it was gonna be a 3-0 Turbo Stomp. I said.
Nice.
I'm not gonna lie, we've been performing better in scrims, and I was quite like disappointed with the way we were playing. I mean, it makes sense, right? We played very safe, and we took the easy way to victory instead of going for more of the harder things to do. So yeah, I'm of course still satisfied, but we have more in our arsenal. I would say we can play better.
I just wanted to ask, right? Because I've never personally worked with it, but I'm incredibly curious. Like, what does Dem? Because he's your coach, right? Demby? I don't know how you actually pronounce his name. What does he bring to the roster? Because every single roster he's on always does pretty well. What would you say he contributes the most with?
Yeah, I mean, he puts a lot of time in, right? But like honestly, that guy, I think he gets in the big bucks. It's like he puts a lot of good work in. He's well prepared, and he's making sure that everyone is comfortable with each other. You know, everyone enjoys playing with each other. I'm not gonna lie, like at the start, I didn't perform very well, and we hadn't like played like scrims. But now, after a few scrims, I found myself fit in with the team more, and I adapted myself to the surroundings. So that's thanks to Demb as well. I had this talk with him, and he made sure that, you know, I was feeling better moving forward.
I guess then we have to start looking at the rest of the tournament a little bit here. How are you feeling about how far you can go? You're into the semi-finals. Are there any of these teams you're looking at and going, they're our rivals, they're the guys that we feel are like at our level? Or are you thinking that this is just your tournament to take?
I mean, it's very hard to say, right? Like every team is 3-0'd or 3-1 or looked very dominant. But I mean, I'm most excited to play against Lazy in the live spot lane. The rest of them are like kind of whatever. I mean, maybe Nativz is good. I'm not very sure, but I have respect for Gotzi as a player. But I want 4-wall in the finals. You know, I'm calling out Cast right now. You better make it there, and you better show up. You know, just saying.
You want a unique reunion? Is that what you want right now? In the
I
finals?
want revenge.
And will you win or not? I want confidence.
3-0. 3-0. I'm gonna play Sivir. Okay, I'm gonna play Draven, and then I'll play the Twitch for you guys. Okay.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes, we've got it on air. We're gonna clip it. We're gonna ship it. I want the 1v1 between your Twitch and Cass Belveth. On game, in the Baron Pit. Game 1.
Wait, that's permabanned. The Belveth, I'm not joking around with that thing, okay? We're getting rid of that. I can say that like already.
Understandable decision. Rusty, thank you so much for coming and talking with us. Thank you so much for showing off your incredible drip. We wish you the best of luck in the semi-finals, and we'll let you go.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Good luck. See you later.
Every interview with him, I'm telling you, every interview is so special.
We have a few interviewees in the NLC scene, between the likes of like Rusty Sniper, and Don Jake, who's just turned up, or has his mother turn up on interview. Like there are a few characters, shall we say, who turn up on interviews. An absolutely glorious time.
I think it goes to show when that was like the first interview I think I've been part of where there hasn't been an accidental swear. That was. I think we have some crazy, funny characters.
We've managed so far so well. Yeah. Fantastic news. Well, Aragon, thank you so much for casting with me today. I'm sad it was such a short series. I think it's actually, for all the times we were on broadcast last year together, this is the first time we actually got to cast together. So a real joy getting on microphone with you. Any final words before we start to close out?
Honestly, you know, more of that. You get to cast the finals again. I hope you get a banger.
Don't give it away.
You did 5. Oh, I didn't say anything. It's actually me on the finals.
It's not me. Yeah, I'm not there. Don't worry about it. But yeah, I am there with you. I want that 5-game series. I want something out of these semi-finals that gives us that little bit of extra spice. But I have to wait and see. We've still got a quarterfinals tomorrow, guys, between Verdant and Ruddy to see who our final semi-finals will be. We've still got more of this tournament to go, but there is no more of this broadcast tonight to go. So from myself, from Aragon, from the whole broadcast team here on the Aurora Cup Open, we wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you all tomorrow for that final quarterfinals.
See you, everyone.